Pacers are in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Joseph Newgarden goes back-to-back, wins the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome into a Thursday. We've all had a chance to catch our collective breath. I don't know how you guys were yesterday. Good morning, James Boyd. Good morning, Kevin Bone and Mark Dykton. I had about 6 people come up to me yesterday, whether there were people here at the station, a couple of people that I see on the regular outside of here, and even one person at a store that were like telling me what they were doing when that game happened for the Pacers the other night in Game 2. And I'm just kind of wondering, it's one of those moments, Kevin, where everyone who's a Pacers fan is going to remember exactly where they were and what they were doing when that game took place.
Easily. Yeah, it is certainly a where were you when type of moment. I know I sounded like a broken record probably at the end of the show yesterday and calling it the old Gen Z 8 points in 9 seconds, but it was certainly that, and as if the NBA needed to remind us, James Boyd has so eloquently said, this is March Madness. Last night we had another one of those with the Knicks and Celtics. So it's the craziest NBA playoffs I've seen in quite some time. No lead is safe, and you've got the Knicks and the Pacers right now up 2-0, and they are a combined 8-1 on the road in these playoffs. The New York Knicks are 5-0 on the road here in the playoffs as they erased a 20-point deficit once again last night on the road. I can say it because I don't coach the team. Can you imagine the Eastern Conference Finals if these two franchises meet with a trip to go to the NBA Finals? Like, I don't think a lot more needs to be said than that. I'll mention it once. Try not to bring it up a few more times for those that believe in sports superstitions.
You got to have Reggie on the call for that, though, don't you?
Well, I don't know. Don't we do ABC for the NBA or for the? Or no, I guess it is Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, I would assume that would be TNT. Sure.
That'd be outstanding.
You know me, I welcome all hate, and that would certainly be a series filled with it. But my hot take, I put it out there yesterday. I think one of these teams, the Cavs or the Celtics, will come back and win this series, mainly because the playoffs have already been chaotic and crazy. So I expect a little bit more crazy. And obviously, I think that the Cavs are in a much worse spot than the Celtics. It's just the Celtics are defending champions. They do have 2 superstars, so we'll see. But big game coming up tomorrow for the Pacers, obviously.
It's going to be fascinating Friday to see when the final injury report comes out for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I want to see how's Donovan Mitchell doing after that strained calf. I mean, that's an injury he had a couple of seasons ago that really bothered him throughout the season.
It ended last season for him. He didn't play in those final couple playoff games with Boston due to a strained calf. Yeah, today I think it's a big day. Both Pacers and Cavs to get back to practice. I mean, is there anything lingering from Tyrese Halliburton's left wrist?
Yeah.
I think that is something just to keep an eye on. But, one thing to note with the Cavs and their injuries, unless I've missed it, and we'll have Spencer Davies on coming up 9 o'clock hour who covers the Cavs, I don't think we've gotten to like the Damian Lillard point of, oh yeah, he's just doing everything but contact. Like, unless I've missed it with Garland and with Mobley and with Hunter, like there were none of this, hey, they're doing pregame warm-ups on Tuesday night. Like, hey, they're out there, at 5:45 trying to test
they're
it out.
They're getting close.
Usually there are those little steps of like, yeah, you get to the point where, boom, the game before you come back, you're really, really close. I don't know, unless I'm misreading the situation big time. Now, granted, there is an extra day off between 2 and 3, Tuesday to Friday.
And they'll take it.
And they will certainly take it. So, yes, I think today is certainly a big, big health update day. And then tomorrow, 7:30, ESPN tomorrow for that broadcast.
James, I'm wondering, too, because it's the postseason, to Kevin's point, we generally see guys kind of ease back in the NBA. Because it's the playoffs, is there any of that necessary? Or if you think you can go, let's just go.
That is a great question because I wondered that with Darius Garland's toe. Like, could he play and contribute being on a minutes restriction? But what good is he coming out there and being on a minutes restriction if your season is in dire straits? I don't know. That's one they have to
watch
kind of figure
Ty
out.
Jerome play a little bit more, and that might rethink you if you're a Cavs fan.
Well, yeah, I've read and heard many Cavs fans who are saying like, just give us the hobbled Garland at this point. But again, we make the joke about it. I saw people criticizing him and things like that. But if your toe isn't right, It just doesn't matter. People will give you crap about it all the time, but if your big toe seriously is messed up, you can't play. You can't move.
You can't cut, you can't run, you can't jump, because every time you push off on it, it just sends a bolt of lightning up through your body.
Exactly. And his game is built off being shifty and moving and cutting. And I was listening to Spencer Davies earlier, again, who Kevin said we'll have on later in the show. He kind of described it as Garland being like a wide receiver. I kind of look at it like Josh Downs. Like, ask Josh Downs to move without his big toe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a lot of lateral.
And again, you're undersized.
Right.
So what your advantage is being shifty and creating space. And if you can't do that, you know, if you can't be like the Ferrari, it's hard. It's hard. So we'll certainly see what they, you know, will go through in practice today, and then we'll get some updates going into tomorrow.
And also, just visually, you talk about needing an extra day or two off. Donovan Mitchell looked like a prize fighter that had gone the full 12 rounds the other night at the end of that game. Like, they were just, you got the feeling his teammates were like helping him up off the floor and just getting him going. And yeah, he still had the burst, and he's an athlete and a competitor, but that man was used up at the end of the game,
I
too.
thought one of the biggest sequences Tuesday night, and I think we touched on it a little bit yesterday, was when you made that run into third, start of fourth, you made Kenny Atkinson put Mitchell back in the game earlier than he wanted. I want to say Mitchell went to the scores table like 9 minutes or so left in the fourth, and I think in an ideal world, Atkinson could have kept him over there until, 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. And right when Mitchell went back in the game, one of his first few possessions, he just stepped out of bounds catching a ball on the inbounds. I think that might be mentally draining as much as you are physically drained. And I thought you saw, sure, there were Mitchell heroics in the fourth, but I think you saw a couple of those plays. So, again, huge health update day, and I am still a bit surprised to see Cleveland favored here coming up tomorrow night. 2.5 points for Game 3. I don't know if that is a Vegas indication of where the health is trending, but that does surprise me.
I also think it's a matter of, again, we set those lines. Vegas sets those lines to get the most amount of bets on both sides to come in. Maybe Vegas is like, hey, the Pacers fans, they're feeling great. They're going to go for this line all day long. And Cavs fans are like, oh, our team is going to bounce back. This isn't the team we watched all year long. So it's kind of sometimes based on how much money you can get from both sides coming in. So maybe that's really what that line is about as much as anything right now. It's hard to say.
But I will say, you know, and I say this with love. I saw my boy Nate Atkins, Indy Star. We know he's a Cavs fan. He's from Ohio.
Man, he needed a hug yesterday.
Oh, yes. That was the quietest I've ever heard Nate Atkins in the Colts media room. Me usually being the little brother in this role and trolling people and annoying people. I did not go that route because I know that was some real pain he was feeling. And we talked about it. I was like, okay, man, they're coming back here to Indianapolis to try to get 2 games. And he's like, oh, it was a great season. I'll enjoy the summer. And I'm like, dang. Mm-hmm. So, you talk about putting money down. I don't know if many Cavs fans feel that way right now. There's a lot of sadness permeating from that state.
I would caution Nate Atkins and any Cavs fan, if you're listening, maybe don't listen at 7:40.
Oh,
or might have something for you, unfortunately.
Oh,
gosh, Mark, are you already digging their grave?
You know, Mark, he twists the knife.
Man, you got some Pacers fans that'll say, Mark Dykton, careful.
What I love about
Still
Mark,
a little
though,
early,
is like it's 9 o'clock and he's not quite ready to go to sleep yet. The girls are probably in bed, and his mind starts turning over. Like, who can I troll? Who can I take out tomorrow, and how can I do it?
Probably after a Cubs loss and a Reds win, he probably was feeling a little bit of that last night.
Let's just say I had some fascinating listening last night, and I was like, I think I got something here.
I'm looking for 7:40, huh? Looking forward to that this morning here at 7:40. You guys did spend some time at Colts facilities yesterday. Did any news at all? Did anybody say anything interesting?
Yeah, I think you can always, walk away with a couple of, different storylines. Obviously nothing earth-shattering by any means, but I think it's always a good update on several guys. We can go over that throughout the show. Reminder, they've got the rookie minicamp starting tomorrow, so James and I will be out there. For that will be the first time these rookies get to West 56th Street for rookie minicamp. It'll be a 2-day minicamp, and then they will be then with the 90-man roster starting next week. And we are Are we 3 weeks away? Does that sound right, James, from 11-on-11 stuff?
I believe so. I know they're in phase 2 right now, so
yeah, I'm looking at
and for those listening, phase 2 means you're out there, but you're not doing full team activities just yet.
Yeah, you can do some individual stuff. I think you can do your side of the ball. You can't do offense versus defense. Yeah, May 28th, if I'm looking at it correctly here, will be our first viewing. And just a reminder, NFL schedule announced next Wednesday, so that is May 14th. I know some people kind of joke about the schedule, Elise, For a lot of people, though, I think it's like, hey, we can now actually put some like dates to fall schedules, and for families that travel or are busy or etc. It matters a whole lot. So May 14th, that will be the NFL schedule release. So yeah, a couple Colts items. I did think we saw maybe one storyline that's been brought up throughout the offseason of should the Colts make a veteran tight end move. We saw some news on that front yesterday. That impacts the Colts a little bit, so we can go over that as well.
Yeah, lots to talk about as the Pacers are off one more day. Everybody's trying to get healthy and rest for Game 3.
We have breaking news, though.
Whoa, right
Colts,
now?
From Colts camp.
What's the breaking news? Do you want to hold on to it, or we have to go now?
I mean, it was that
breaking
competition
news?
makes everybody better.
Okay.
That's the line you're going to get about the quarterback competition. It makes everybody better.
You should have let Mark know he's got a special
No, it
edition
is certainly
of
not
breaking
worth
news
that,
for
but
that.
I think I got a kick out of that. We'll hear that over and over again for the next, 6 months?
Heartbeat skipped. It was like earlier in the week when Jeff looked at me and said the Colts had some moves yesterday, and I was like, wait, what?
Nah. Just a little fun.
All right. We'll continue in a moment. You're starting to get this radio thing where we just make fun of everything.
bit.
So that's how that goes. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. We continue next.
Brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
All right, let's check and see what happened in the NBA last night. The road team just keeps on rolling, Kevin Bowen. The Knicks, for the second game in a row, not only upset the Celtics in Boston, but they take the ball away again when the Celtics are trying to score to win.
Boy, James Boyd, I thought your words came to fruition last night. You wanted Jason Tatum to get downhill. Did he ever on the previous possession to take the lead? That was emphatic. I thought that was great from Joe Mazzulla. And then the second time around, I felt like when he got Mitchell Robinson on the switch, he almost should have done what Tyrese Halliburton did the other night and kind of backed it out and like, hey, I got Jerome up. To be fair, Robinson obviously is a very good defender, but still, you'd rather that than to dribble into Anunoby and Bridges. And he ended up dribbling into, well, didn't dribble very effectively, but ended up getting into Bridges and Anunoby, and the rest was history. So Brunson hits the 2 foul shots. What a run from the Knicks. Guys, here I am fumbling words like I do with the Pacers right now. It's amazing. The Knicks are up 2-0, and they have really, to erase 2 20-point deficits on the road. Thought I saw the stat last night. It's the first time in the history of the NBA the team has done that on the road on consecutive nights.
Wow. 91-90 was the final score. The Knicks get the win. Jalen Brunson had the game-winning free throws, as Kevin said, with 12.7 seconds remaining. He had 17 points. Karl Anthony Towns, though, James, doing work. 21 points, 17 rebounds.
Yeah, he was big time for them. Obviously, Mikal Bridges down the stretch was big time for them. Those 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, not looking so bad at the moment. But going back to Jason Tatum, through his first 2 games, he's shooting 28% from the field, 25% from 3. And they wanted this guy, Boston fans that is, to play over Kevin Durant and LeBron James in the Olympics. We would not have meddled with this. So pick it up. Figure it out. You're supposed to be a top 5 player in the world. You are not beating the allegations of not being a top 5 player in the world right now. That is horrible.
In the first game, the Celtics were 15 of 60 from three-point range. They were just 10 of 40 last night.
Yeah, they're shooting some bricks. Part of it is their identity. You can't really change that, I don't think, at this point in the playoffs, but you definitely want to, see some of these shots go down, and we'll see what they adjust and do differently in Madison Square Garden, which surely will be rocking with Spike Lee and others on Saturday, I believe.
All right, the Oklahoma City Thunder, no problem at all with the Denver Nuggets after losing Game 1 at home. They bounced back with a 149-106 win against the Nuggets last night. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 34 points. Jalen Williams had 17. Chet Holmgren bounced back with 15. Nikola Jokic only had 17 points, and he fouled out, JB.
Yeah, did you see his last foul where he just jumped on the guy's back and then tried to act like it was the other guy's foul? I'm like, I've said this before. I've said it with Jalen Brunson. I've said this sometimes with LeBron and other people. Man, I love superstar players. They're obviously why we watch and we get entertained. But the constant trying to trick the refs is annoying. I'm like, what are you doing? You're the best player in the world. Just be that instead of trying to trick our eyes or do some gimmicky thing. And
he really is a trickster.
Yes.
Jokic.
Yeah, totally.
Dude, he does not
100%.
get hit that. He is huge. He does not get hit that hard, but maybe he wanted the rest of the night off because he did foul out in the third quarter and they were down by 1 million, so it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
Later on tonight, the Golden State Warriors take their 1-game-to-none lead into Minnesota to try and get 2 there, but they'll have to do it without Steph Curry. We found out yesterday it's a grade 1 hamstring issue, which means at least a week, KB. So they just got to try to stay competitive in this series to try and get him back. Now, it's the least of those grades. Grade 1 is not like a grade 5. So.
Don't we start to divide up the schedule a little bit? It's just 1 game tonight. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think Golden State will get an additional day or 2 here at some point. But yeah, anytime you're done with the hamstring, I saw a stat the other day that in Game 7, Steph had ran the most of any game this season. And you think about his age, you think about, obviously, the closeness to Game 7 to Game 1. Certainly, I think there's just some wear and tear that indeed happened. So we'll see how much Golden State can keep it afloat without him, but I hope for everyone's sake, frankly. It's great when we're watching Steph Curry play basketball. Hopefully he gets back at some point in the series.
Major League Baseball, San Francisco Giants over the Chicago Cubs by a score of 3-1. And the Cincinnati Reds finally scored some runs, KB. 4-3. They got a win over the Atlanta Braves, snapped a 4-game losing streak. They're back on track. Let's go. There's no stopping.
I was frightened to see Hunter Green exit there in the 4th inning. Luckily, groin injury on that end. I feel like anytime you see your pitcher walk off the mound in early May, it's
Not
like,
good.
oh my gosh, dear Lord here. Mark Dykton has cursed my Reds. Shout out to the
Would
UND
never do
baseball
that.
team. They won their first game of their conference championship last year, a magical run to the D2 Baseball World Series. We'll see if they can get on another run here. They play tonight against Missouri.
Columbus Clippers bested the Indianapolis Indians 4-3 yesterday. Same two teams in a morning game today, 11:05. The Indians hosting the Columbus Clippers over there. If you're looking for something to do downtown at lunchtime, that might be a good way to go do it.
Screaming kids in your ears.
Sell the beer bats, right? And I'll be there.
It's still a baseball
Mark,
game and not work, man.
Couple sleeps away from Bluey.
I know.
Oh, you go?
It's
You
only a
okay?
matter of time. No, we are not going. We went last year. That was our fill. No. We're
This
heading
was,
out of
this
town
was
for Mother's
not
Day
the
weekend.
kids' decision, I would imagine.
No,
They're not lobbying.
they're
for this?
unaware.
Oh, they're
unaware, and that's the way.
They're
to
not
keep
on the
it.
Indians' email newsletter.
No.
Don't say anything.
Mm-mm.
So was it Addison? If you're listening,
No. She's still in bed for like 20 more minutes.
As far as you know.
Gates will be open at IMS tomorrow. Weather looks tremendous for the Grand Prix coming up this weekend. I think 4:45, the green flag on that for Saturday. The Fever will have their final preseason game coming up on Saturday. That is on the road. And did you guys see where the LA Rams are hosting their mandatory mini camp here in mid-June?
Hawaii.
If you're going to do it, then,
How
go.
about that?
They do so many cool things because
Maui.
It's a good way to get participation up.
I would say, yeah, you could have that be voluntary, and I think it would turn to be 100% participation. James Boyd, you are spot on. They do a lot of cool things, and they're pretty good at football.
yeah, I know for like their pre-draft coverage, like we always go to the Colts facility. They have this weird thing where they don't really draft in the first round every year, so they just go and do something cool. They were at like an airport hangar the last time I checked this past year.
I thought they
doing
went to
some
the
stuff.
fire department,
Well,
didn't
that's
they,
what it
because of the
was.
wildfires?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so that might have been a different year, but yes, they'll go to do different things and kind of check off just some stuff that I can't even say is like wish list items because you don't wish of things like that. You kind of just fall into them if you're on that beat.
They kind of
listening,
live up
Colts.
to the Hollywood mantra a
That's
little
true.
bit there. Like
I
their
like it.
social stuff, they've got like really cool promotional videos. I don't know. Sean McVay, I feel like kind of checks that box as well.
You
You're
guys ever been
listening,
to Maui?
Colts. French lick is calling, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
there you go. You ever been to Maui?
I have not, but I do have family that stays in Hawaii. My grandfather actually lives there. My dad and my mom went and visit them. I believe they stay on Oahu.
that.
So yeah, that was cool. He's been living there for decades upon decades.
You ever been over the islands?
Yes, honeymoon.
Yeah, me too. I've spent, we went
At
back
Maui.
before the kids, we went back once after the kids were born, but before they were born, we would go back and kind of re-celebrate our honeymoon every other year or so. I always tell people in total over the years, 20, yeah, there goes Mark again. Before the kids. Yeah, that's right. That was before the kids, right?
Like the awkward sounder at 7:25 in the morning.
But yeah, 29 days I've spent on that island. I've never had a bad 15 minutes there. It's just
29 days
total
Oh,
over the whole
wow.
course of my life, which
Hey,
is
respect.
a while.
I'll
So-
catch up one day, hopefully.
All right, coming up in a moment, Mark has something special planned. You don't want to tune that dial away. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Fun times in Cleveland again.
When Tyrese Halliburton gets the ball with 11 seconds when he first gets the ball, I said out loud, like I narrated the game. I was like, he's gonna shoot the ball. He's gonna shoot it. Like an absolute moron.
Come on, man. You think they're going to go in Indiana and beat them 2 games? No. They're going to get swept.
Good God, if they get swept, I mean, we're going to be saying some irresponsible things.
Well, it has to be one of the worst. You got to rank it right up there with the shot and some of these other bad losses. Totally fell apart.
In the span of 3 days, we watched them play 2 games, and the series has gone completely backwards to what anybody expected. And yes, health has been the kick in the nard.
If Indiana was without 3 of their 6 best players, take Miles Turner off, take what's the dumb kids, Matherins, and take Nemhard off. They're getting blown out every one of these games by 30 points.
I couldn't be mad at the very beginning because I sat there shocked. Just shocked and dismayed, watching Donovan Mitchell fall and like he was Jeff Hardy throughout that game to get 48 points, like mankind off the top of the Hell in the Cell.
That loss hurts so bad. It reminds me just what just happened to me. A lady just ghosted me. All because I mentioned an old crush. It hurts that bad.
Did you see what Shador's friend put on Instagram yesterday? What did Shador do? What about Dylan Gabriel? Who's going to be the quarterback today? Who's going to be the quarterback tomorrow? Who's going to be the quarterback on Thursday? I got all effing summer to talk about the Browns. Please, 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 because it's going to be bad. We'll talk about trading, getting mad, getting rid of Darius, because that's going to come up again, getting rid of everybody else again, and then it's just going to be Shador Sanders for the rest of the time.
This would have been different if we came back from 20 points and lost like that. We choked that away. We're up 117 to 110 with 47 seconds left. Why can't they bleep and close out the game?
God, the loser mentality is clinging to the why, God, why? Get your head out of your ass. It's the NBA playoffs. It's hard to win in the NBA playoffs.
This is as bad as it gets. It's a soft-ass choke job. It's not about heart. They were just afraid to be in the moment.
It's got to be miserable to be in that city today.
Inject that straight into my veins. Straight into my veins.
Look, if we're giving out petty awards, Mark Dykton wins in a landslide.
That was the state of Cleveland sports radio yesterday.
That's what it was.
I totally forgot that they have Shador Sanders.
I mean, the way honestly, can you blame them for reacting like that?
Let's be honest. We'd be reacting in the same exact manner.
Exactly. That was rough stuff. And, I mean, my goodness.
It also reminded me, we went through that whole list of Cleveland heartbreak yesterday. We didn't bring up the Jordan shot over Craig Elo yesterday.
Well, it just sums up, frankly, sports. Like, we're describing it as one of the greatest, I'm picking up my nephew yesterday to go to soccer practice, and I see his older brother. I'm like, dude, you're going to remember that game for the rest of your life. And, like, it didn't really resonate with him. He's about to be 9. I'm like, you're going to remember that for the rest of your life. And then Mark just plays that from the other market.
You're going to remember that for the rest of your life.
They're going to remember it for the rest of their lives in the exact opposite manner. It's just, it's sports. It's why we love it. And certainly the opposite side of it. Oh, why you absolutely hate it at times. Why do I do this to myself? Yes. Like, I lived it last year during Notre Dame's football season. Yes. Why do I do the Northern Illinois thing? Yeah. Why? What? Oh, wait. For that magical playoff run?
Yeah.
All of that? So it was summed up, pretty much in one night. And we'll see how Cleveland responds tomorrow.
Mark, what do you think is longer at this point in time? The list of quarterback names on the back of a jersey or the list of Cleveland heartbreaks on the back of a T-shirt?
It's getting up there, man, isn't it? Like, heartbreaks has got to be up there because that is just soul-crushing, and they've had so many of those in all their sports teams. Whether it's LeBron leaving or now the game the other day or the Elo shot, there's been...
I don't really have feelings towards Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Cleveland itself. It's cool.
Like, I am glad that LeBron went back and got them a title. Just for, their sanity. Can you imagine if he, had not done that? And then had won all these titles in Miami and L.A.
They turn around and left right away,
Cue up the Joakim Noah sound. You think Cleveland's cool?
But the Pacers can do their part in not going back there. We'll see if they can finish them off here coming up Friday and Sunday.
We'll find out Wednesday, and I think we have a game time for Game 5 too. Our air time will be 6:30, I believe, for Game 5. We know it's going to happen because.
No, we don't know.
No. We know if there's a Game 5, that'll be the time because we know that the Nuggets and Thunder will go 5 games now is where I was trying to get to. So thank you for helping me get there because I was stumbling around there.
Question for the panel here. More pressure on the Pacers to win Game 3 or Game 4?
Could you expand a little bit?
So I got asked this question yesterday, and it was basically like, is there more pressure to go up 3-0 and basically put them like to sleep, or would there be more pressure on you drop a game, you come back in Game 4, and the pressure of what if they tie it up?
I don't know if you're asking this, but I'll spin it in the way that my brain is reacting to that question, James. I think there is more pressure on Cleveland tomorrow night than there would be on Indiana with the 2-1 lead on Sunday.
Ooh, yes, I
think Cleveland absolutely has to get tomorrow night. I mean, are we still doing the 3-0 thing in the NBA? Is that stat still alive?
Yeah. No one's ever done it.
Right?
No one.
Okay, so that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. If you are to lose tomorrow night, you obviously will face, immense amount of pressure on Sunday to try and maintain home court at that point. But no, I can't overreact too much. I mean, tomorrow for Cleveland is
their season.
Yeah, it's your season. Yes, that's the exact way to describe it.
So the last couple of times you've had Rick Carlisle on the show here, he's talked about the fact that that arena has been so loud. And one of them, he called it the loudest he's ever heard an arena. I think that place is going to come unglued at tip time tomorrow night.
Yeah, it certainly will. I mean, I was there for the state finals, and people lose their minds over watching 17 and 18-year-olds go at it. So, obviously, when you build up years and years of fandom and you have all of those things kind of working together,
we're going to have all the moms in there on Sunday night going nuts as well. It's going to be rocking
absolutely.
on Sunday night.
I mean, if honestly, if my mom was in, like, the state and had grown up as a fan, if this was, like, the Bulls or whatever, she'd be going to game, 3. She would probably welcome that because it's fun. It's a good time, and I think I kind of want to spend some time, and I don't know, when I get closer to the date on Sunday or maybe even Friday because it's a night game, both of them, I'll probably just go around and just see what the scene is, like on the concourse, down the court, things like that, because you got fans of all ages, and I'm sure somebody will have some crazy story about how they became a Pacers fan or what, drew them in, and obviously they're going to let all of that out when it comes to trying to put the Pacers in the Cavs in 3-0 hole.
Curious what uncharacteristic thing through 2 games we've seen, because I think each team has had one uncharacteristic thing in both of these first 2 games. Which one goes away quicker? And, obviously as we sit here Thursday, both teams will practice today. Certainly the Cleveland health situation is probably the number one storyline. Tyrese's left wrist will be a storyline. So moving health to the back burner for just a second. Cleveland has had 2 of their worst 3-point shooting games of the entire year, these first 2 games. Indiana has had 2 very uncharacteristic turnover games. Indiana does not turn the ball over.
Especially game 1.
Well, game 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I mean, they got 35 turnovers in these first 2 games. It was pretty similar, both the turnover numbers. So I ask you guys that. What uncharacteristic item will go away from their team first? The Pacers and the turnovers, or Cleveland and the 3-point shooting?
It kind of felt, and I get your point about they're very similar, but it was really that first half in game 2 that killed the Pacers. They just couldn't get anything
14
together.
of them last night or the other night in the first half.
Yeah, so it kind of feels like maybe they got over that in the second half a little bit. I hope.
You agree, James? You think the turnovers will go away quicker for the Pacers versus the lack of 3-point shooting for the Cavs?
Yeah, mainly because you're on the road too, and
That's a good point. For both items.
Yeah, but that rim gets tight for some of these role players, and you're dependent on them to, again, save your season. So, yeah, I would expect Donovan Mitchell to bounce back because we've seen him, do that. I believe he has like the 7th highest scoring average in the playoffs in history. So you can expect him to show up 1 leg, 2 legs, doesn't matter. He'll score probably 30. It's the other guys. You sure Sam Merrill's going to knock down some threes?
Well, I mean, how good was Strus in game 2?
Strus was unconscious the other night.
And again, we've gone over this. And I've told you the 2-1-1 theory. You need 2 games from your best player, 1 game from your second best player, and 1 game from your role player to win the series. Did you waste the Max Strus game? Because he balled out. He's a good player. I'm not saying he doesn't have another great game. But, man, that is a gut punch because he shot it so well. And then threw it to the wrong team at the end.
And I am certainly going to be watching Pascal Siakam tomorrow night. James, you brought this up late in the show yesterday, but as we start to get away from Game 2 and just the heroics and the insane nature and the Hollywood script of the finish, Pascal Siakam was way too quiet on a night when Evan Mobley wasn't playing, on a night when Tyrese Halliburton was getting face guarded. You need a max player to deliver for you, and he did not at all like a max player. I mean, if the Pacers lose that game, we're talking about Pascal's 2 missed free throws there a whole lot.
Oh, the lane violation?
The lane violation, the foul.
I demand that the league restart the game from that point on. Okay?
No, we like the way it went, just the way it was, James.
Not that everybody committed a lane violation, but, man, they missed the call.
You certainly are going to need Pascal Siakam to get back to being, what he was really to start this postseason. He was great in those first couple games against the Bucks. So, especially if Tyrese is going to have any sort of limitations or, I just assume this will be Cleveland's approach now. They're going to try to face guard the hell out of Tyrese. They're going to try to put the ball in Nembhard's hands. And when that happens, you need Siakam to be, especially if Mobley is going to be A, not in the lineup, or B, limited in any way with that ankle injury, you need Pascal to get back to uber consistent offensive player because he's just not giving you a ton on the other end. And so that, I think, is something to watch as well.
I would hope that being back at home maybe flips the switch for him. I can't get over that. That is, I've seen you wear that before. I love, you can show the camera for those watching on the stream. That's an awesome NBA Jam t-shirt you got rocking
NBA
today,
Jam action here.
Halliburton
Tyrese
and Mathurin.
Benedict Mathurin here. Yes, it
Where'd
is
you find that?
one of my favorite t-shirts. Some bootleg website online.
I like it. I got to go check that out.
I would endorse it, but I'm afraid I've got pop-up ads on my laptop for the next 6 months from it.
I saw someone had a WNBA version. It was Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah.
Well,
and if you want the real version, you can go to homage.com, I believe. Homage.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll trust you on that. I'm afraid.
Oh, trust me. I know it because I actually have a Chicago Sky.
Well, there's
one, I believe,
other
or something
Pacer
like
ones too.
Yeah.
I think there's like a Halliburton Siakam one, but I thought very fittingly, I probably should have worn it yesterday, frankly. But I thought after Game 2, it doesn't take me a whole lot to compliment Benedict Mathurin, clearly. But again, I thought Mathurin stretched there, late third, early fourth, huge, absolutely huge. So a big time minutes from him on a night where I didn't think your bench gave you a whole lot. I thought your bench, I thought it's a little thing. I thought it was the first time I watched Jarris Walker and said, "Oh boy, moment too big."
Yeah,
I hadn't said that about him in a while. Really, in the postseason, I hadn't said that. But I thought the other night it felt like a little bit bright lighty for him. So, again, anxious to see how he responds tomorrow. And just, do we see anything rotationally with Rick? I'm going to guess no, because that starting unit, fresh, played so well in the fourth quarter. But, again, something to just keep on monitoring.
And, of course, that game starts tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m., 7 o'clock airtime here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Pacers have a 2-0 advantage in that one. Mentioned earlier, you guys were both out at Colts camp yesterday, just kind of meeting with a few people. Who did speak yesterday, James?
Jim Bob Cooter, the offensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator, Alec Pierce, DeForest Buckner. Samson Ebukam gave us an update on his Achilles, and I believe there might have been one more player.
Yeah, Brian Mason, special teams coordinator.
There we go. One more person, rather. But, yeah, I mean, it wasn't – I mean, the reason why I'm kind of struggling to remember is it wasn't all that newsworthy, I would say. But I think it was good to hear from Lou Anarumo. He basically said, one, they're going to be more multiple, so they're going to be very versatile, I think, on defense. So that kind of gave us some insight as to how they might operate moving forward with some of these, like, defensive backs and linebackers and things like that. And then also, I think the biggest takeaway from me, at least on the defensive side of the ball, Kevin, was, hearing DeForest Buckner say, this guy ain't messing around.
Yeah, one thing I do want to go back to with Lou for a second is just the open-mindedness with Javarius Ward and doing some shadowing.
Yes,
doing some one-on-one following. And, when you look at the Colts' schedule, I do think there are a couple of opponents where, that can kind of stick out to me. I think to yesterday with the George Pickens trade to Dallas, it's DK Metcalf and then who with Pittsburgh? All right, when they show up in the schedule, you would think Javarius Ward shadowing DK Metcalf would make some sense. Obviously, they've got some history in the NFC West. I look at Houston and their wideout group and think, that's Nico Collins and who? And certainly we've seen Nico Collins absolutely roast the Colts here over the last couple of years. So that could be another game where that sort of premise pops up. Marvin Harrison Jr. in the Cardinals, does he rise to kind of that level?
I mean, I think of Brian Thomas down there in Jacksonville.
Yeah,
a hell of a great season as well.
How much is Travis Hunter playing on offense? But certainly, Puka Nacua with the Rams.
Good point.
You keep on going down the schedule. There are some very good individual wideouts on these teams, and then there's some question marks maybe below these wideouts. So, boy, I want to say maybe Stephon Gilmore did it a little, but I don't even recall him doing it that much, even though he probably could have or should have would be the better way to put it. So it's been a while since the Colts have had that defensive wrinkle and I guess the willingness to explore that and try it. I'll be interested when these games pop up if that is something they do indeed implement a bit.
Did Anarumo talk at all about draft picks and how he sees guys fitting in or anything like that, even in generalities, or did he just kind of stay with it?
Yeah, I did have a chance to ask him about Justin Wally out of Minnesota, and he mentioned that he played a bunch of games in the Big Ten, over 40 starts. I want to say like 42. And his ability to be aggressive, near the ball, good ball skills, and things like that. But overall, I think another big takeaway, he was saying in today's modern NFL, you just don't really want linebackers covering tight ends in space. So could that mean we'll see more dime package? And for those listening, dime packages, would they play like 6 defensive backs and I believe one linebacker and then 4 people up front as far as the defensive line? So would that be your defensive setup, where you have more guys who can kind of run in obvious passing situations? That way you're not getting just picked on mismatch-wise. But, again, that was probably the most of it. I know people want to hear, like, what they said about Anthony Richardson. They didn't say much. We talked to Jim Bob Cooter, the offensive coordinator.
Competition,
and he told us,
right?
Competition makes everybody better. And I'm like, man, I did not know that coming in here. But I'm joking, and I'm giving Jim Bob a hard time. But what can you say in his position? You can't really say much, I would say, because you want to kind of keep things very vanilla, very open-ended. Ask about Daniel Jones. Oh, he's here. He's working hard. He's, going through the playbook. You ask about Anthony. Yeah, you know what? He's really, taking things serious. Okay? But there's nothing there to really glean.
I did tease this a little bit earlier. Yesterday, you saw news around the NFL. Dallas Goedert will be staying with the Philadelphia Eagles on a restructured deal. For those that maybe haven't been following that storyline, there's some thought that Dallas Goedert, who's been a very good tight end for the Eagles for the past, half dozen years and has history with Shane Steichen, there's some thought that he, could be on the trade market, maybe even a veteran cut, and would the Colts have interest there? James, are you surprised at all? Or I guess, do you think it's enough what the Colts have done at tight end? Basically, it's a Kylan Granson exit, Tyler Warren in. Do you think that is enough at a group that was certainly one of, if not the worst pass-catching groups in the entire NFL last season?
Yeah, they finished with the second fewest yards in the league at tight end, trailing only the Rams, I believe. I'll say it's enough. It's not, maybe preferred, but looking at how they're kind of built offensively, they're still going to be a run-first team anyway. So I don't know if you need to double dip with tight ends and guys who can make plays and make catches. And obviously, that's a luxury to have, but who's delivering the ball? How often are you throwing the ball? I just don't see that. If you're telling me, this is sticking with the Rams theme here, a Matthew Stafford-led offense, then I'm like, okay, maybe you do want to get another pass-catching tight end in there. But for, purposes of Tyler Warren, he can do it all. You made a huge investment there. I think Mo Alley Cox in a diminished role is probably a better version of him because you're not relying on him to be your main guy. That's fine. So I'm okay with it. We talk about these positions all the time, and you would love to have no, problems, no holes everywhere. I remember when I played Madden, I would build my roster, and it would be loaded with guys at every position, but that's just not reality. So I think they addressed it in a fine manner.
Kevin, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. You brought it up. Where are they at now? And I don't know if anybody talked to Andrew about his linebacking situation.
Yeah, he obviously gave the company line of just where they're at. And again, I don't think they'll play maybe as many linebackers as they have in years past.
That was my takeaway.
James kind of brought up this point about the sub packages and just more nickel 5 DBs, more dime 6 DBs. How do they match up with tight ends? He sounded very against linebackers on tight ends. Does that carve out a role for like a Juju Brents? He is a bigger corner. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a lot of those type of body types. I think that'll be something to keep an eye on. One more on the tight end front. You guys seen the rookie over-unders for Tyler Warren?
I have not. You've been spending a lot of time on the apps lately. I like that.
Well, how else are you going to send your kids to college?
Yeah, he basically was telling you to call that number.
Good
point. Mark Dykton, you want to take a stab at a Tyler Warren over-under, catches and yards? or touchdowns.
Okay.
Mark Dykton, our resident degenerate better.
Yards, I will say 800 and a half.
That feels high.
Jeff Rickard, sounds like you're on the apps a little bit here. Tyler
I don't
Warren's
know what you're talking about.
over-under here in his rookie season, 550
Wow, that's
yards.
not much at all.
I'm going to say about 52 or 53 catches.
Jeff, you might need to call the number.
Yeah, I think you need to call the number.
Yeah, call that number.
Catches.
Don't fall for this, man. He looked at this stuff before he walked in this morning.
did not.
You know he get up with the birds chirping and all of that.
You can look at the record, man.
You delete that search
James,
history.
the birds were still in REM sleep when Jeff Rickard starts to rub those eyes. 4.5 touchdowns.
Sadly, that's just a product of me doing it for way too long.
You know
what
what?
that is.
I also think that's a product of knowing your personnel. KYP, as my high school coach would say, because who's throwing you the ball?
Yeah,
That's a good point.
It's interesting, Mark. To your point, like you look last year, Brock Bowers, huge rookie season, huge. But if you look at and there's been a little bit like Kyle Pitts, I think had a big rookie year. But if you look at some of these guys, you really don't see tight ends walk into the league and make huge impacts. Now, it's ludicrous for me to compare what Dallas Clark walked into offensively to what Tyler Warren's walking in, and I mean the guys around him. Like Dallas Clark walked into 2 Hall of Fame wideouts, a Hall of Famer at running back. But if you look at Clark's first year in the league, it was like 2 for 30, 3 for 30, 3 catches for 30 yards, like per game. You know, if Tyler Warren did that, I think some fans would be left wanting more. So, you know, kind of projecting Warren's rookie numbers, I think is interesting. Kind of gets back to the conversation of, you know, did you do enough there? Should you have made a veteran move on top of Warren? But certainly Jim Bob Cooter, when asked about Tyler Warren yesterday, it probably was his only super expansive answer of, you know, you watch what happened at Penn State, the variety of ways they utilized him. That I think can be an exact blueprint for how the Colts utilize him in, again, a multitude of ways here in his first season.
Coming up in a moment, we get back to the NBA playoffs. As crazy as we saw things last night, still not nearly as crazy as what we watched the Pacers do in Cleveland the other night. Still shaking my head over that.
That's true.
Discuss how it pertains to Game 3 and what the health status of players on both sides of the ball is looking like right now as we continue next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good Thursday morning, along with the maestro Mark Dykton. We've got James Boyd, Kevin Bowen. I'm Jeff Rickard. Guys were out at the Colts facilities yesterday talking to some coordinators and a couple of players, and of course the Indiana Pacers. Did anybody over there talk about the Pacers at all? That game?
No.
The amazing game?
I didn't bring it up, and I did see that they posted a video, though, of them reacting basically to Halliburton's shot and things like that. So it was kind of funny to see the players react to it. We have Josh Downs saying the Pacers are going to the finals. So, if you want to put some money down on that, he's calling it.
He's calling it.
Get some good odds on that.
Had quite the busy offseason was Alec Pierce. I would say in his own words, he would agree with this. Maybe not his best effort at a first pitch at Wrigley Field. I was stunned watching the video. It didn't look like Alexander Rossi at Victory Field, for those that watched that opening or that first pitch. But I was expecting a little bit more out of Alec Pierce. He says he was thrown off by the mascot, Mark, coming out with the big mitt. Is that a thing that they do?
Oh, yeah. Clark the Cub, yeah.
Does he come out with the big mitt?
The big mitt, yeah.
For the first pitch?
There you go.
I would want the backup catcher. I think that's what I would want if I was doing a first pitch. He also went to the Kentucky Derby, Alec Pierce, and won the NFLPA golf outing in a scramble format down in Mexico. So no shock to anyone. Alec Pierce is quite the athlete.
I will say this about first pitches and football players, and that even goes beyond first pitches. You remember the day that Paul George left the Pacers, ended up on his way out? He was playing.
I mean, you remember, are you referencing the softball game at Victory Field?
There was a softball game at Victory Field. He was participating in it, and he had told us right before that he was looking for a way to stay in Indiana, and he was all happy about that. In the meanwhile, we found out while he was telling us that they were orchestrating his way out of town. But what I take away from that game, I watched the celebrity softball game. There were a bunch of Colts playing there. Football players can't throw.
Well,
unless it's a quarterback, they just don't look natural throwing a softball or a baseball.
Some would say the quarterbacks can't throw either in the city, but
no, I would actually push back. I mean, Alec was typical play every sport type of guy.
I was just surprised, linebackers, defensive ends, things like that.
I mean, have you seen EJ Speed's high school football quarterback highlights? Most of these guys are just the best athlete wherever they came from.
Well, last year it was funny, James. Remember this. So the Colts are going to start there again. They'll have rookie minicamp starting tomorrow. Then they'll get into OTAs. That's the 11-on-11 portion of the offseason program. They'll do that late May, early June, and then they'll end with a mandatory minicamp in mid-June. Last year, to end camp, Shane Steichen, and usually what they do is they put a fat dude back there to catch a punt. Do the jugs machine, put a 300-pound offensive lineman 50 yards away. Can you catch the punt?
Yeah, that's fun.
And if you can catch it, we'll end minicamp early. Last year, and I'm trying to think of the players, James. I think it was EJ Speed, Blake Freeland, an offensive tackle. I forget who the third one was, but they had them play quarterback and try to hit the tackling dummy on a moving golf cart.
Yeah.
So picture equipment guy driving the golf cart, 20, 30 yards across the field laterally. The tackling dummies on the bed of the golf cart. And here are these guys.
I want to say Quiddy Pay might have been the other one.
Okay.
But
yeah, that sounds right. Who have probably chirped many times about how great of a quarterback they are. Probably EJ Speed the most out of any. And you know what? I thought Blake Freeland had the best form. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say Blake Freeland was a high school quarterback before he put on all the weight there. So, yes, to your point, Jeff, there are some.
They're clearly great athletes. They're just not used to throwing a ball like that. And it looked like it that day. I was surprised.
I just love how when, Kevin kind of dug a little more into this with Alec. And I mean, we're just killing time at this point. Like, hey, what'd you do this summer? He was like, yeah, I pretty much just do whatever they ask me to do because I just want to do cool stuff. And I was like, you know what? Respect. I would do the same exact thing.
1,000%.
He's like, yeah, because we got this other thing coming up. He couldn't even remember what it was. And Matt Conti, Colts PR, great guy. He's like, yeah, it's this. He's like, yeah, I'm doing that, coming up here pretty soon. And he just does stuff. And who wouldn't? I think Kenny Moore is another one who really enjoys his offseason, does a lot of unique and cool things, a lot of interests as well. And so if you were in that position, why wouldn't you?
Well, I'd assume
have some fun.
Some player will do something this weekend over at IMS. Whether
I believe that was him. He was saying he had something
coming
up
with green flag for quals or green flag for the race, something along those lines. I would assume will take place. One more note, or I guess two more notes on Alec Pierce. He believes that he is probably the best golfer on the team. Daniel Jones would be the real competition, he said, in that realm. And then two, did you get any impression that he's expecting a contract extension this offseason, James?
Not really. I mean, the way he played it out, and again, Alec Pierce is very low key for those listening, and I'm sure you all probably know this already. So I wouldn't expect him to be like very demonstrative and say like, well, I need XYZ by this date or whatever. But it sounds like he's open to hitting the free agency market. And honestly, I don't blame him if that is his approach. And I also don't blame the Colts for perhaps not extending him right now. I mean, if you think about it, I think we went over this.
Yeah, you and I had this debate a couple months ago.
Yeah, like you've paid Michael Pittman Jr. a nice chunk of change. I would assume you want to pay Josh Downs at some point. Does that mean you also are going to pay Alec Pierce? Like, how much money do you want to invest in a position where, I mean, at this point, year to year, you can find good guys in the draft to kind of replenish that group. Not saying you want to move on from him, but I'm okay with them not extending him right now.
I think it makes sense for both parties. I think if you're Pierce, you look at it and say, all right, the quarterback play has been what in my 3 years here?
Mm-hmm.
Look what I did last year, and if my game can continue to ascend, I think I want to see what the open market looks like. I don't want to tie my hands to a pre-contract year extension. While that, yes, offers some security, it can restrict me a little bit. You know, I don't know if it's the exact ideal comparison, but you know, maybe it's a little bit like, does Aaron Neesmith sit here and think to himself, man, I kind of regret signing the extension when I did, considering what the payday could be. And then from a Colts standpoint, not that you're holding your breath this will happen, but let's say A.D. Mitchell takes a second-year jump. That could very well impact how you view Alec Pierce. So, you know, when you and I debated this a few months ago, James, I was more in the camp of when you're in your longest playoff drought in 30 years, when you have a GM that, to me, should certainly be on the hot seat, I outside of Bernard Ryman, I don't think anybody really deserves a contract extension this offseason. That's kind of where I'm at. Nothing against Pierce, but that's where I'm at in regards to him and that contract extension.
I will say this, and you guys know this better than anybody. 69 catches. He averaged 22 yards a catch.
Not bad. You know what's crazy? He averaged like 40 yards a catch like his junior year of high school when he kind of first started blowing up. And he was like, yeah, my coach would just tell me, like, just outrun everybody and we'll just throw it to you. I'm like,
that's kind of what they've done in the NFL with him.
It pretty much works. I mean, he ran a 4.3 during his pre-draft process, but I have one correction for, I went back and found a tweet about the vet minicamp throwing competition. It was Kwity Paye, Blake Freeland, EJ Speed, and EJ Speed actually won it.
Did he really?
He did win it, and he let the team hear about it as I tweeted
I'm
back
shocked
in June of last year.
I don't remember his loudmouth ranting and raving about that.
He let us know. What was so funny, so Colts have a social team, they do all these funny little videos. They did one where they went up to like a couple of different players, like, hey, here are some highlights. We want you to react to your high school highlights. And it's EJ Speed playing quarterback, and he's like, oh, yeah, y'all finna see some stuff right now, blah, blah, blah. And it's him throwing picks and fumbling, and it's like the funniest video ever because he took it in stride. He's just like, oh, no, y'all did me. Y'all set me up. And it was just funny to see that reaction. But a lot of these guys were quarterbacks. I mean, he was a quarterback in high school. Tyler Warren was a quarterback in high school. A.D. Mitchell played quarterback some in high school. It's pretty much like whoever's the best athlete, especially if you're not like a huge school. If you're not down in Texas or like Florida where like they just breed a lot of football talent, you know, if you're playing in, you know, whatever, Wyoming or something, you're probably going to be the quarterback if you're the best athlete.
You're probably going to run half the time, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The wing tee is strong.
Yeah.
Is it Dean Havlin? Is that the name of the Pacer in-game entertainment guy? See the one that runs the show over there inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse?
It sounds, the last name sounds right, yeah.
I have a request for tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
Oh, man.
Let's hear it.
Game starts at what time, Jeff? You said a little later, right? Tomorrow night?
Yeah, we got a 30 minutes. Tomorrow night.
7:30?
7:30.
7:30, okay. You know, pregame intros, you know, you got a lot of pyros going on and a lot of that, you know, all the players.
That's why it's so smoky in Cleveland?
Yeah, it was super smoky.
Okay,
I thought it was.
Like, what the heck is going on?
And actually, not to nerd out over this, but Spiriditas was on, who did the play-by-play for Game 2. I think he said he's doing Game 5 as well, or Game 4. Sunday will be on TNT. He was on with John yesterday. Encourage you to check that out. But he mentioned that for people that have been curious about kind of the audio issues maybe a little bit or audio delay, he kind of shed a little bit of light on that with John. But I have a request for Game 3 tomorrow. Boomer, right? He oftentimes descends, right? Yeah. Repels. That is a great word. Yes. He repels from the catwalk, right? To start a game, it typically goes up, you know, at the start of a fourth quarter, kind of a big moment. When he repels down tomorrow to kind of officially kick off Game 3, Could he have John Halliburton with him?
Just on his back, just coming on down the.
Guys, like a WCW Sting situation.
Guys,
coming down
YouTube chat, look at my face right now. I'm dead serious. I need John Halliburton on top of Boomer. Now, hear me out. That happens at what?
I like this idea. About 7:25?
7:25. We can get him out of the arena by 7:30. We will still abide
tip time?
by NBA rules or, Pacer rules, whoever made this official call. But I need John bleeping Halliburton, maybe with the towel. Maybe he can have the towel draped over Boomer as kind of a cape. They land, a hug, maybe a hug for Brenda and the girlfriend sitting courtside, and then just a quick little exit. I mean, right there through that tunnel, boom, elevator up. He can be on Pennsylvania Street.
I'm starting to like the way your brain works, man.
We've got a couple of opinions in the chat. Evan, who we know brings us the cluster truck every Tuesday, he says it's a great idea. Gabby Hay responds and says, no distraction, don't turn into a carnival.
Oh, stop.
It's already the NBA.
Gosh, Gabby sounds like Colleen Bowen when I had some great idea back in the day. Come on.
Hay, I'm sorry, Gabba Hay.
Is that when you learned to ask for forgiveness
I know
rather
Mark
than permission?
agrees with me on this.
Well, I want him to be in the Boomer costume, and so like Boomer rappels down, takes the hat off.
Or how about Bowser? Right?
Go.
Isn't that?
Oh my God!
Wasn't that Boomer's JV mascot with them, or Freddie Fever?
Yeah.
Can Freddie Fever give up the mascot? And boom, John Halliburton takes the head. Yeah.
How do we know
I'm all
that
for
he
that.
won't be in costume somewhere in the arena?
It's like Bobby Valentine when he got thrown out, and then he showed up with the mustache in the dugout.
The Groucho Marx mustache and glasses.
If I see John Halliburton with a fake mustache on, that would be so. I've seen like the little photoshops where they have the little Italian mustache, the little hairpiece on top of it. I'm like, that would totally fool me. It's like Hannah Montana.
I'm digging that. Do we have any Colts
No
that we would?
distractions. Come on now.
Do we have any
Unbelievable.
Colts that would be like pregame hype person over there?
I do know we'll have some at the game. I don't know if they're going to get hyped and kind of join in on all of that. But Kenny Moore goes to a lot of games. He's usually there. And he actually said that the team went their last series is like a team kind of bonding.
Yeah, they were all in a
opportunity.
suite, weren't they?
Yeah, but he goes all the time, sweet or not.
Yeah, I remember
Kenny.
seeing Pearson Downs and Quiddy at a playoff game. Yeah, I mean, I think these guys certainly.
They're sports fans.
They are sports fans. So that is my request. But I will say, I thought the Cleveland crowd was soft as hell for not giving Tyrese a little "Where's Your Daddy" chant. I think the "Where's Your Daddy" would have rung a little bit more than the overrated.
Yeah, and I thought that Donovan Mitchell showed way too much respect with the pipe down.
I know. Is he trying to win the mental attitude award here? Is he trying to win the Trester award?
I told you.
Come on, Mitchell. That guy took your spot on Team USA.
Exactly. Like, forget that.
I've been watching on my timeline lately. I've gotten a lot of Michael Jordan stuff coming up again lately, and it's all been guys saying, do not hype. Don't get him going. Don't talk to him. Don't say this. Don't say that.
You know what?
He'll drop 50 on you.
With all due respect, Reggie Miller talked to him, and he went toe-to-toe with him. And obviously,
Reggie's the guy that says he learned not to talk to him.
Man, Reggie said he would swing on him still today. Did you see that? He was on he was on Steven Jackson's podcast with Matt Barnes, and he said, man, I still would swing on him. And I was like, that is the most Indiana response ever.
Did you see what his when he was talking about Michael at the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, that's
said
what he was
at halftime I was talking all kinds of trash. I had 12, he had 2. By the end of the game, I had like 14, he had 40.
But I mean, to bring it full circle, I truly believe that it's really cool to have sort of Reggie pass that torch to Tyrese. And then also their personalities are very similar in like the pettiness and the outgoingness. And even, Rick Carlisle said this, like their build is kind of similar. Skinny guys are not very formidable when it comes to their size. But, give them the ball late in the game and good luck.
Reggie was a killer.
So if you guys are going to be soft and disagree with my rappel towel over Boomer's shoulders.
Nobody disagree with
that.
Well,
there's some, it's going to be a distraction. If not that, maybe when they do the Jumbotron, like 3 minutes to go in the game, they do like the fan, let's go Pacers. I think they filmed that pregame.
Right.
Maybe he will be the last one to show up. There he is on his couch somewhere in the Indy area.
That would be cool.
He is, FaceTimed in. He's got the towel. We go there.
Just waving it, right? Let's go. The more I think about it, the more I like this idea. Mark?
In the YouTube chat, James, I saw Orlando asked here about the Colts signing a linebacker yesterday. You care to fill us in a little bit on the linebacker that Lou Anarumo did bring up yesterday?
Yeah, I'm hoping I'm saying his last name right. Is it Joe Bacci or Bacci? But point being, he is...
Either sounds great to me.
I'll certainly work on that. We should get names right on the radio.
I'm
I'm
gonna
sorry
guess
for those listening.
Bacci, but I could be wrong.
But
Bocce?
yeah, so
maybe
he
it is
played
Bocce.
for the Cincinnati Bengals, I believe, for like the last 3 or 4 years. Played under Anarumo, but he's more of a special teams guy. So for those who are like, man, they signed a linebacker, don't think that this is the EJ Speed replacement. He's going to start. No, he's very much primarily, I would say, I want to say he played almost all of his snaps last year on special teams. Good special teams player. It's always good to have that depth there, but that's about as much as you're going to get out of that.
But it also tells you that Anarumo likes having him in the locker room if he's going to bring him over here, and he's not a starting linebacker.
Well, that and he's cheap.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, just to further the special teams emphasis on that, James, his defensive snaps the last 3 years, 37, 10, and 13 for the entire season.
Right, exactly.
So, 37 snaps equates to like 2 a game? So, defensively. So, yes, special teams rise. And to reiterate, and Brian Mason, their special teams coordinator, shout out to Zionsville, shout out to Notre Dame. That is where Brian Mason hails from. He mentioned yesterday, they have lost about 4 starters from their normal special teams unit. Grant Stewart, Kylan Granson, Trevor Denbo, some of those guys. So you also need to, I think, kind of reinforce those units, which typically for the Colts have been a very solid group. And that, I would say, dates back, really several special teams coordinators.
Mark, let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
NBA last night, the New York Knicks are 2-0 against the Celtics in round 2 of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Very similar games. Both nights, they rally from 20-point deficits. They win at the end by making a great defensive stop, and the Celtics go home empty-handed after hosting the first 2 games. I guess not going home. They go on the road empty-handed back to New York, and they just have not been able to shoot the 3 at all, James Boyd.
Do all of you need, new houses? Because the bricks they were putting up in Boston, it builds you a nice new place.
25% for both games. They were 15 of 60 in game 1, KB. They were 10 of 40 last night. A team that has lived on the three-point shot can't buy a bucket right now.
Wes asking for a John Halliburton bobblehead night. Wes, we gotta crawl before we walk, brother. All right. I think
what are we doing here?
I think the rappel, the exit, maybe the jumbotron video. But hey,
I thought that was running right there.
Open Pandora's box.
Somehow, if we go to the NBA Finals, man, Wes, you might be onto something here. You gotta have the towel, right, with the bobblehead. Yes. Currently, the Celtics can't throw it in the ocean, and really, they just can't finish. If you want to boil it down to these end-of-game situations, with a minute to go last night, they had less than a minute to go, they had the lead. Tatum, has the emphatic play at the rim. They have the lead, and then Drew Holiday definitely committed a foul on Jalen Brunson, and Brunson goes to the line, hits those 2 foul shots, and then Anunoby and Bridges just suffocate Tatum there in the corner. So it has been unbelievable to watch this postseason, particularly in the Eastern Conference, as right now both of the road teams up 2-0. And could you imagine Pacers, Knicks, Eastern Conference Finals? I think I picked the Knicks to win it all at the start of the year, by the way. Can we find that audio, Mark?
Did you?
You do that sober?
I find that very fitting that I've waited this long to re-bring it up here, but I remember that after 2-0.
Brother, take that to the grave.
Last night.
That was... What compelled you to do that?
I don't know. I thought the Bridges thing would really help them against Boston. And I know, so far it has, but certainly we got a long way to go in that series.
It's all even up in the West between the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder after the Nuggets had their own stunning comeback the other night. The Thunder were not having it last night at all. They were all over the Nuggets early, often. Jokic fouled out. He only scored 17, 149-106 in a game that it is probably not as close as the score would indicate, James. It was bad.
OKC by 1 million to, tie the series up. But the good thing about the playoffs on either side is you win by 1, you win by 1 million, it's still 1-1.
Thunder played 14 guys last night, and all 14 scored. How many times do you see that in a playoff game? Shea was Shea, and then great balance from then. So, reminder, just 1 game tonight. We'll kind of split up the schedule a little bit here. So we'll get game 2. Unfortunately, Steph Curry out with that hamstring injury. Warriors, T-Wolves, with the T-Wolves trying to even it up at 1-1.
Also in baseball yesterday, the Cubs losing one to the San Francisco Giants. 3-1 was the final score there. The Reds beat the Braves 4-3, but a concerning moment you were pointing out,
I
Davey.
was not feeling I was feeling very queasy is probably how I should put it. When the training staff went out there for Hunter Green in the 4th inning, he did exit. Luckily, it sounds like a groin injury for the Reds ace. So hopefully, crisis averted on that end. Again, shout out to the UND baseball team trying to get back to the NCAA tournament. They got on a great run last season. They've got Missouri St. Louis tonight. Won their first game yesterday in the conference tournament. We'll see if the Greyhounds can get on another run.
All right. Locally, the Indianapolis Indians losing at home last night 4-3 to the Columbus Clippers. They will play again this morning. That one starts at 11:05. I still say if you're not doing anything better and you want to go for a long lunch, that's a great way to go spend some time, James.
I mean, that is a long lunch. Fun fact, my dad proposed to my mom on his lunch break because it was a 2-hour break. Talk about somebody thinking they had it in the bag.
Wait.
You got to go. You got to tell us more about
give us
that.
some more
Come
details
on.
than that.
I mean, I don't know how much time we have before the break.
I
but
think I
yeah.
respect the hell out of that, but tell me
I got a
more.
full 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, here's the story. He knew she was the
Buy
one.
one, get one free at Penn
And,
Station or something?
no, he like, you know,
BOGO?
got the whole,
The Pacers won the night before. Yeah.
Right.
he got the picnic basket, had the sandwiches, took her to the beach, I believe, in Chicago. It might have been like, you know, near like Michigan Avenue or something like that. He had a 2-hour lunch break. I was like, what kind of job were you working? We had a 2-hour lunch break. And so he took her on her lunch break and took her, you know, set up the picnic, asked her, you know, will you marry me? And of course she said yes. And I was like, you're the most confident man alive. Do this on your lunch break. And he took her back to work. And she said she went into the, you know, office with her hand out and like just shock on her face, like what just happened? And they were like, you can just like not work for the rest of the day and we'll just celebrate with you. So
Let's go.
Wow.
Like, can you imagine proposing and they're like, oh, babe, I got to go back and clock in real quick, you know, get this money.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's my dad.
I got a
He's-
quarterly
yeah.
review coming up at 1:30.
Well, apparently he did it right.
He did. I mean, another fun fact, they were first time they met in a club. He asked her to dance. She said no, and he was like, I'm not trying to marry you. I'm trying to dance. And then,
That's a good line.
yeah, they're like
Hey, I
30
need
plus
to
years in now.
Is son taking some notes on this?
Yeah.
A little
Dad
bit,
was
but you know,
smooth.
my mom's is a little, you know, she's an acquired taste, and so I'm glad that they.
Wow.
Boy, happy Mother's Day there.
Well, no,
You know what week it is, right?
Love, deep love, but yeah, I've learned a couple of things from Dad. But before he met Mom, he was a little more, you know, like me, I guess.
And how long they been together now?
I want to say they've been together since '89, so they're coming up on what is that, 36 years
That's impressive.
of marriage. But yeah, like I said, before the 36 years of marriage, Pops was living life.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Happy early Father's Day.
Well, he was just waiting for the right person at the right time.
Hey, like father, like son.
We don't want details of that, do we, Kevin? Not on that one right there. All right, it's the Fan Morning Show with James Boyd, Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton running everything. I'm Jeff Rickard. We'll continue talking about the Pacers in Game 3 coming up against the Cavs. Next, it's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Some heavy scrambling during the latter part of that break there. Somebody had said they found a what kind of line, James Boyd?
I mean, should we repeat it? Because I don't think this is true at all.
Well, we can't find it.
Yeah, it says there's a 7.5. Well, somebody's claiming in the chat that it's a 7.5 point. The Pacers are 7.5 point underdogs, but I just don't see this anywhere. So, the response is that I Googled it.
Well,
this is like me in high school. It was like, this is true
Like
because the internet told me.
Fake AI.
Yeah.
How about this? Winner of Game 3 win the series?
I'm still not ready to even if Cleveland gets one
no.
back, I'm still not ready to go to Cleveland
right.
yet.
I'm gonna say no, mainly because I still think that the Pacers are playing such a high level. Or not even such a high level. I think they've kind of figured out what works against Cleveland, and then they haven't given them their best game yet.
Yeah, I would agree on all of that, and I would agree, just to answer my own question, I guess, I don't think the winner of Game 3 wins the series. Obviously, if Cleveland does win Game 3, it certainly tightens some things. You know, it's one of these where you look at Cleveland's 3 injuries, and let's act like Mitchell is not injured, which, I don't know, some Cleveland people think that he's more injured than is being led on here, the calf issue. He did not finish last year's series with the Celtics due to a calf issue. But it seems like at some point in the next whatever X amount of days, all 3 of these injuries, Garland, Mobley, Hunter, they'll be back. So the quicker you get up 3 games to whatever, the quicker you obviously end the series, the better. I mean, if this starts to stretch a little bit longer, again, this stretch in between 2 and 3 is 3 days. You won't have another 3-day stretch until Game 6 to 7. Well, obviously, it's got to get to Game 6 or 7. But,
right.
You know, the longer the series stretches out, obviously more injuries could develop. But still, you know, that Cavs group could be getting a little bit healthier. So, it's too much stock to, I think, put in Game 3. But at the same time, like we talked a little bit about it earlier in the 8 o'clock hour, I do think Game 3, there's much, much more pressure on Cleveland versus what a Game 4 would look like if the Pacers were only up 2-1.
Yeah, the buddy texted me during the break, and he was looking at the 2-point, the Pacers +2 is what he was finding, and he said, you know, he's the big horse racing guy. He's like, my sovereignty money's going back to the Pacers now.
And that is a 2-point underdog. For those that don't know pluses and minuses, that is the Pacers as a home underdog tomorrow night.
It's still so wild to me.
Both teams back to practice today. Certainly health updates will be paramount, much more so in Cleveland, but also a little bit here in Indiana, just with exactly where Tyrese Halliburton, once the adrenaline wore off. Because I thought that was a game that, and again, deep analytics would probably have to look into this, and James, I don't know if you've seen it in any article. It felt like to me that was the most Andrew Nembhard has ever handled the ball in a game where Tyrese Halliburton has been healthy.
Yeah.
Playing next to him. Like, I cannot, I mean, just look at Nembhard's pure numbers. He had 13 assists, right, and 8 turnovers. Combine those 2 numbers. How many times in an NBA season do you see guys with 21 assists and turnovers combined in a game? Like, that is an extreme amount there. So how much of that was simply Cleveland was face guarding Tyrese, and how much of that was due to, hey, man, once that happened early second quarter, I don't feel as comfortable maybe handling it to the magnitude that I usually do.
Not only that, he comes back out with the wrap on. They had X-rayed it, and you could still see him like flexing it, messing with it, rubbing it for the bulk of the game too. And you know it's going to be more sore the next day. So I think you're right. I think how's it feel today? Is it start to feel better, or is it stay the same right now?
As long as it's attached, you take the drugs they give you, and you'll be out there for Game 3. But no, that is something to monitor. I do think I want to come back to a point that Kevin made. You talk about them pressuring Andrew Nembhard and picking up full court. I thought that they sort of wore down from that approach, where the Pacers have done that throughout the playoffs. They've kind of built their team, and part of that is just conditioning with certain athletes where you can expect Andrew Nembhard to pick up full court. T.J. McConnell's going to pick up full court. Bennedict Mather can do it a little bit. And so I thought Cleveland tried to take a page out of the Pacers' book and do the same thing, but they couldn't get over the finish line because that's not really their identity. Like, that is what the Pacers do. They get after you. They're going to pressure you. They're going to get up and do all those things that you kind of only see like at the high school level. Like, you don't see a lot of NBA guards get guarded 94 feet, mainly because it's a bad tactic because the other guys are too good to get around you and get create advantages. But I thought Cleveland did a good job early on, but late, they kind of ran out.
They were worn down.
They ran out of their legs, truly. So we'll see if they can, maybe sustain that a bit more or pick their spots better. But I don't know. They certainly will be desperate, and that's one thing for sure. I expect them to come out and be, aggressive, physical, and for God's sakes, Kenny Atkinson, I don't want to hear any more about them grabbing or holding or fouling, whatever. Meet the moment. Be physical back. Like, your season's on the line, man. I don't want to hear after game 3, win or lose, oh, man, they're grabbing us. And who cares?
I think after game 1, didn't Carlisle actually say he predicted game 2 would be even more physical than game 1?
Yeah, and Carlisle's done it in the past, too. He did it last year, I believe, in the Knicks series. And, I'm going to send in clips to the league and have them review certain plays. But that whole approach gets old to me very fast, especially when your team's kind of reeling in the Cavs' case, where, last year the Pacers were able to kind of eat up the series and ended up winning it. But for the Cavs, it's like, man, you just lost in horrible fashion. No one wants to hear that. How are you going to tactically win the game? Like, it ain't the ref's fault that you guys didn't box out. And I get it, the whole lane violation. There were 2 of them on both free throw misses and, the eventual point scored off of them. The entire team, both teams were committing lane violations, so I don't want to hear that. Meet force with force.
Gold out tomorrow night. Love the Boom Baby shirt that those inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse will be getting here coming up tomorrow night. The Pacers sent this out yesterday. It's such an astonishing stat. Halliburton is 10 for 11 when taking a shot to tie or take the lead in the final 90 seconds of fourth quarter
Is that good?
overtime this season. 10 of 11 from the floor, tied or to take the lead in the final 90 seconds of the fourth quarter. They actually put a montage together of all these shots. It's unbelievable how many of these are also away from home. I mean, it's just here I am watching these shots. You can probably hear it in the background. And, of course, one of the more iconic ones was the old NFL football play drawn up where he hits the one in the corner in front of the Bucs bench. Did you see?
Great play.
That was a little bit of, I think, what Boston tried to do on the first Tatum play last night. I think that's kind of the thing that, and I know Carlisle loves to do this with Halliburton. I think they like to give Halliburton the running start. Because what I think the thought process there is if you give our guy the running start, we're going to set a pick with the big. And so in that case, you're going to get the big man on skates. And again, when Tatum had the first shot to take the lead last night, that's what they got. They got Mitchell Robinson on skates, and Tatum was able to go by him. I think that seems to be kind of a patented thing the Pacers want to do with Halliburton is they almost like to say, no, we're going to throw it in the backcourt to you. We're going to let you get the running start and hopefully create an advantage with speed. It's almost like a, I don't know, it's like a standing start versus a moving start.
Yeah, it's like a little Arena League football.
In IndyCar or something like that, In F1, we see them start races from stationary positions. In IndyCar, we see them start, obviously not. I think that's what you're seeing from Tyrese in a lot of those situations. He did a little bit of that on the game winner on Giannis. You know, you were able to set the pick there, and then Giannis just a little bit on skates, and boom, Tyrese blows by him.
Yeah, I would even go back to the series last year against Milwaukee when he hit the game winner on like Patrick Beverly, caught it in the backcourt, gets downhill, crosses over, and it just forces you to react.
That was the floater.
Yeah, and then the dangerous thing about Tyrese is as much as he says, like, I want these moments and I'll take these shots, and he will, he's also very dangerous with the pass. So you kind of have to respect when he does get downhill, and you're scared that, oh, man, if we don't, you would say, oh, where's the defense? How come you didn't help? Well, if you help, he's going to kick it out, and you're going to get a wide-open shot for game. So it's kind of
loves the step back. I mean, the step back is probably his go-to move. I mean, what you saw with Jerome, that's probably the go-to move. I get hindsight's 20/20, and Jerome had just gotten cooked. I believe hibachi is what James Boyd said yesterday to describe that. I laughed very hard at that. He probably should have been up in Halliburton's grill and just hoped that Jared Allen was there. If I were betting on Halliburton from an opponent's side of it, I would bet that he misses the floater. Because that's not really his strength. Is not the necessary, Donovan Mitchell at the rim and Tyrese Halliburton at the rim are two very different finishers.
Yeah, but again,
I guess to kind of simplify it.
The margin for error you have to know if you're Ty Jerome in that situation, the only thing that beats you is a three. So you just sell out. You sell out, even if you foul him. As a ball handler, not as a shooter. That's 2 free throws. You get the ball back. You get a chance to go out there and still win the game. The fact that he didn't sell out to keep him out of the paint, I was thinking, wow. Like, Tyrese looked at him and was like, you are food. And I'm just going to just cook you. And that's what he did for game, and that's why they're down 0-2 right now.
What I like, too, is, and you guys have been talking about it, but
getting hungry.
When you're scouting the Pacers and you're looking at the things that he does, and you mentioned the 10 of 11, it's been in so many different ways.
Yeah.
There's not just one way to defend him. He will make the pass if he has to. He'll took Giannis to the rack.
Down the hill.
Then he steps back and hits the three. There are so many different ways he has in the moment. He's incredible at recognizing instantaneously what the play needs to be. That's greatness.
Well, that might be one of his best skills, it just is processing.
And there are some of these plays, and going back and watching all the highlights, that are also set plays. So the coaching staff, I think, deserves a lot of credit as well. Of you're running specific sets to free him. And there are a few plays where it is someone else getting him the ball off of those sets, off of the screen, for example. So, the Pacers are a tremendous late clock team. They might not have, I guess, I don't know, Tyrese and Brunson right now. Are those like the two guys in the league you would point to late game?
They're getting it done.
And it's not like, they're not the two most athletic dudes, but somehow, some way, they both find a way.
These playoffs right now, those two terrify me with the ball in their hands late.
Yeah, I think Joker deserves to be in that range. And
the guy for the Nuggets has been Jamal Murray. Has been terrific.
Gordon hits some big shots, certainly.
Yeah, but consistently, Ty has been getting it done with anybody. So it's been fun to watch, and hopefully it continues tomorrow night over at the Fieldhouse. All right, coming up in just a minute, we'll talk more about the NBA playoffs. Also, some time spent in the NFL yesterday as we continue here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Did you go before the green flag was waved?
Yeah,
Would that be the proper
I didn't
analogy
realize
there?
the mic was on. That's on
Get
me.
to the back of the
No,
line.
no, that's my fault. I turned his mic on too
That's
soon.
okay.
My bad. So give me the
I'll take
pump
it.
fake there.
I did it, though. I'll take it. But I love the teammate aspect of that.
Gosh,
It's
it's the high road from you two right
Man.
now. Unbelievable.
Well,
Nah,
you know
I'll
it'll
stick with
disintegrate.
Tacky. You guys sound like Donovan Mitchell, and the crowd's training overrated.
Nah, you know me. I would have definitely been like, bump that. That reminds me of Greg Popovich when he got on the mic that one time and he told the Spurs fans not to boo Kawhi, and I would have booed him. Like, what? Love you. You're a legend. What are you talking about?
Would Pacers fans boo if Anthony Richardson popped up on the Jumbotron tomorrow night?
No.
Saw that in the YouTube chat being asked.
Nah, they
I don't
wouldn't
think
boo him.
so.
Would it be awkward at all? Would they be like, well,
It would kind of kill the vibe, though, wouldn't it, if people started booing right then and
well,
there?
certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
He wouldn't boo him. Nah, he wouldn't get booed.
I don't
It's
think
and
so.
also it's not fresh enough, like off of a season or whatever, to
Yeah.
feel like you're out of place. They probably cheer.
The question is, would Chris Ballard get booed?
Well, yeah, we probably shouldn't have that conversation here. 7:30 tomorrow night. As I said earlier in the show, I need John Halliburton rappelling in on Boomer's back.
With the
Pre-game.
towel.
With the towel. And then he can exit. He can exit before tip. And then we're good. We've abided by NBA rules. And we've created a WWE moment. Mark, I'm all in. Ever since WWE showed up here, I'm all in.
I like it.
You better be watching Backlash this weekend then.
Well, I gotta.
You need to start texting him the times that it's
Sorry,
on.
Maddie,
and where
I
it's
can't really
on
do
and
anything
all that
Mother's Day
stuff.
related.
Yeah.
I've got Backlash to watch.
On Saturday.
Yeah,
you're
bring
fine.
Max. He'll be in there. Get him going.
McAfee's on the card. You can watch that.
Yeah.
There's Indiana ties there.
James was looking back over something he wrote a couple years ago during the break, and you were talking about the quotes that people had predicting the future of Tyrese Halliburton and how crazy you thought they kind of were at the time, but maybe they weren't so crazy now.
Yeah, so I wrote this piece, and I'll probably just share it on my Twitter profile after I share it on air, but the title of it was Tyrese Halliburton's rise validated by All-Star praise. Quote, the league should belong to him. This was around All-Star Weekend a couple years ago, and so I went around asking current players, future Hall of Famers, older players about him, and the stuff that they were saying about him at the time, I was like, man, it's all lovey-dovey. Everyone's in a good mood. He's like the prom king at, these games or this weekend during the All-Star Weekend and the festivities in the game. But, man, you look back at some of these quotes, and I'm like, they were so right. Here's Charles Barkley, and this was in February of 2024. He said something happened to him. It happens to all players. Something happened where your confidence goes to another level. Every player on every level, there's something that happens where you're like, wow, I'm better than these guys. All I got to do is play. Have we not seen him sort of like morph into that?
You talk about meeting the moment. Boy, has he.
I mean, he plays like he knows I'm better than these guys. I'm better than this person in front of me. And this is Charles Barkley saying this unprompted. Another one was, Shaquille O'Neal. We had a chance to talk to the TNT crew before the festivities kind of kicked off. And this was, and I'll give some backstory here. The story doesn't really explain this. I was like, hey, what do you think about, Halliburton's rise just throughout the NBA? And unprompted, Shaq goes, well, the league should belong to him in 4 or 5 years. And I'm like, wow, like what? He's like, yeah, he's not on the level of Curry or Durant just yet, but he's like, he's coming. And I was like, wow, like unprompted, league should belong to him. What? And again, I'm not saying he's the best player in the world or he's going to go out there and win finals MVP this year or whatever. But the Tyrese Halliburton, even from that moment, like all-star starter to who he is now, I think his perspective has certainly changed. And I get it. He's been voted most overrated, but like, damn that. He has played some outstanding basketball and has changed, I think, the trajectory of himself and this team.
I find what it is interesting about that, James, that was last year, All-Star Weekend, here in Indy. You and I were talking about this yesterday over at the Colts complex. Great piece up on The Athletic from Jared Weiss on Tyrese Halliburton and really the season he's had dating back to the start of the year. And it was a great reminder for me in really just how dark of a spot, frankly, Tyrese was in October, November of this season. Remember, he had the injury-riddled offseason, didn't play for the Olympic team. He comes back at the start of the year, and he was not good. He had a scoreless game against the Knicks early in the season. He had a night against Charlotte where he was 2 of 11 for 6 points. The Pacers scored 83 in the game. So it wasn't one of these single-digit Halliburton games where he has 15 assists and makes up for it in other areas. And I thought, and Halliburton is very candid to begin with, But I thought this piece was one of the more candid I had heard Tyrese in saying that at that point of the season, he found himself in a state of mind where he was trying to avoid coming to work. And this is a dude that plays with pure joy. Like, you watch him on the court, and he plays with pure joy. And he had several quotes along those lines of, like, I was trying to avoid coming to work. And ironically, the Knicks were on the schedule right after the Charlotte game. Again, he had a scoreless game against the Knicks a couple weeks earlier, and he reached out to his shooting coach, his trainer, Drew Hanlon, who I think for those that follow Tyrese pretty intently, he has spoken very highly about Drew throughout. Super motivational guy for him, more than just a, hey, get the beef, get the balance, eyes, elbows, follow through here. It's much more than that with their relationship, and that got him into a much, much better spot. He had 35 against the Knicks that night. And with this overrated stuff, I found it super ironic that James, he mentioned 2 NBA players that have been very supportive to him and lately reaching out to Tyrese once this athletic poll came out, in Jason Tatum and Joel Embiid. I would not have thought of those 2 necessarily being the 2 that have reached out to Tyrese and really been supportive, been fans of him, and said, hey, man, I don't know how you're reacting to this poll, but keep your head up. And I thought you made a good point when we were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah, you know what? Those 2 players, a bit of a surprise to hear him just come out and say that. I think part of that was we went to Team USA together. We can bond more there. And
Tatum obviously with him on the bench for a lot of the Team USA stuff.
This is true. And based off how Tatum was playing these last few games, that was the right decision. However, I think that, and jokes aside, I've taken my digs at Jason Tatum. He's a wonderful player, and as much as I criticize the guy, every team would probably want to have Jason Tatum on their roster. But he's also another guy, Jeff, who's been criticized a ton. He's in Boston. They win in Boston. He's already won a championship. Everyone's like, well, you got to win 2 around here to be a legend. Like, that's the pressure he's under. And he hasn't always had the playoff success. His first finals against the Warriors, he was atrocious. He shot horribly. It kind of reminds me of what he's done now. But he's also had the super high highs. He's had a 51-point, game 7 before in the past to get his team to advance. So he's had moments, but he's also under scrutiny. And obviously Joel Embiid, everyone knows his biggest scrutiny is injuries. Can you stay healthy? Also, can you probably stop flopping every now and then? But he's an immense talent as well. So I think those 2 can kind of relate to the world he's in more than others because they, have had success, but they haven't had it sustained enough for people to kind of believe it. And then even himself, he's worked through some things to kind of believe it because he's telling us in the story, I couldn't tell my parents, I couldn't tell my girlfriend, like I told my trainer first and then kind of break through there. So I've always admired Tyrese's vulnerability with that stuff because he doesn't have to share any of this at all. He could just say, I get paid millions of dollars to go to work and I'll figure it out. But I think the vulnerability, to a certain extent, it gives him or makes him a bit more endearing to the fan base when you see him have the breakthroughs now.
Well, Tyrese Halliburton is living large right now, and he'll try to keep it going tomorrow night, Game 3 at the Fieldhouse. You guys will talk about it with Mark over the next hour or so. I got to bounce. I got to go to a conference today and some first part of tomorrow, but I'll be back for Game 3 tomorrow night.
Yeah, I am so jealous that you get to go to a conference and talk about things.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. Mark just wants me. I got to go to Chicago. Mark just wants me to bring some food back for him.
Yeah.
That's all.
I mean, it's the least you could do.
Yeah. Chicago has great food, man.
Have a great rest of the day. I will see you at Game 3 tomorrow night. Kevin, have fun.
Sir.
You guys have a great day, and it will continue next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Fun times in Cleveland again.
When Tyrese Halliburton gets the ball with 11 seconds when he first gets the ball, I said out loud, like I narrated the game. I was like, he's gonna shoot the ball. He's gonna shoot it. Like an absolute moron.
Come on, man. You think they're going to go in Indiana and beat them 2 games? No. They're going to get swept.
Good God, if they get swept, I mean, we're going to be saying some irresponsible things.
Well, it has to be one of the worst. You got to rank it right up there with the shot and some of these other bad losses. Totally fell apart.
In the span of 3 days, we watched them play 2 games, and the series has gone completely backwards to what anybody expected. And yes, health has been the kick in the nard.
If Indiana was without 3 of their 6 best players, take Miles Turner off, take what's the dumb kids, Matherins, and take Nemhard off. They're getting blown out every one of these games by 30 points.
I couldn't be mad at the very beginning because I sat there shocked. Just shocked and dismayed, watching Donovan Mitchell fall and like he was Jeff Hardy throughout that game to get 48 points, like mankind off the top of the Hell in the Cell.
That loss hurts so bad. It reminds me just what just happened to me. A lady just ghosted me. All because I mentioned an old crush. It hurts that bad.
Did you see what Shador's friend put on Instagram yesterday? What did Shador do? What about Dylan Gabriel? Who's going to be the quarterback today? Who's going to be the quarterback tomorrow? Who's going to be the quarterback on Thursday? I got all effing summer to talk about the Browns. Please, 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 because it's going to be bad. We'll talk about trading, getting mad, getting rid of Darius, because that's going to come up again, getting rid of everybody else again, and then it's just going to be Shador Sanders for the rest of the time.
This would have been different if we came back from 20 points and lost like that. We choked that away. We're up 117 to 110 with 47 seconds left. Why can't they bleep and close out the game?
God, the loser mentality is clinging to the why, God, why? Get your head out of your ass. It's the NBA playoffs. It's hard to win in the NBA playoffs.
This is as bad as it gets. It's a soft-ass choke job. It's not about heart. They were just afraid to be in the moment.
Got to be miserable to be in that city today.
Knife, meat, twist, meet Mark Dykton's hand. Sorry, Cleveland. For some reason, Mark Dykton decided to listen to your airwaves yesterday and wanted to cook that up.
I was just curious what they were talking about. And I was like,
Boy,
wow, this is
what a
actually really fascinating.
5-course meal did you deliver there? That sounded absolutely horrific if you are a Cavs fan.
Yeah, I know for sure that Mark is not allowed back in the state of
Dear
Ohio.
Lord. There goes your rock and roll Hall of Fame free passes there.
They're going to find you and jump you.
The
Sorry,
beauty
Nate
and the
Atkins.
horror of sports right there. Certainly the beauty's been celebrated in this town over the last 24 hours. The exact opposites up there in, what do they call it, the mistake by the lake? Is that correct?
Yes. That couldn't be more true these days.
A time or two. Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files, joins us here, 9 o'clock hour on a Thursday. Jeff will be back on Mondays up in Chicago for a conference here. Had to leave a little bit earlier, so it'll be Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton carrying you until the weekend. Scott, good morning to you. How are you?
Good. Just still trying to process all that outrageous comments that we just had to sit through. That was unreal.
Yeah, I don't know if Mark Dykton has an ex-girlfriend from Cleveland or what, but that was quite the opening montage there. Scott,
my favorite, I think, was complaining about the injuries. If you remember, Pacers had no Matherin. Halliburton was like 50% last year, and they still got to the conference finals. So, that was bad.
Yeah, I kind of like the Shedeur Sanders one. I had forgot that Shedeur Sanders was playing for the Cleveland Browns there, so I did have to laugh at that. Scott, I said yesterday quite often, it's the Gen Z 8 points, 9 seconds. You know, for our generation, you and I were, 6 years old when 8 points and 9 seconds happened. It was certainly probably the earliest sports memory I have. What did you make of all the chaos that transpired to end the other night?
I just couldn't help but think about what did we talk about constantly and see for the final month and a half of the season. And it was, why are they putting themselves in this situation? But that said, they just keep figuring out a way. They keep figuring out a way late in the season to come back or to win tight games and to win in the clutch. I can't help but think how much that probably helped them come this most recent game because they didn't get flustered. They didn't get down. They weren't checked out. They weren't bored. They were locked in, and it all goes back to I like the fact of how they were able to execute down the stretch. And then, as I'm sure you've discussed, is not even use the timeout. You had a timeout. You didn't use it, and that's exactly why you don't. So the defense doesn't get set. The subs cannot be made, and Tyrese can take advantage of whatever the situation was at the time.
Scott, do you own a hard hat?
I do not. Oh.
Well, we might need to go get some because the Aaron Neesmith statue needs to go up like yesterday because the way this guy has played has been incredible.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way he does play on the court, you might need a hard hat because he's always going to jump on you, dive for a loose ball, take elbow to the face, whatever the case may be. What say you about his development and what he means to this team?
Yeah, Halliburton made the shot, but I think as you guys have alluded to, maybe it was yesterday, Neesmith was the MVP. You don't get to that shot without Aaron for all the different intangibles he did. And so many of them stood out late in the game, right? The putback dunk, which now the NBA said shouldn't have happened, or it was the offensive foul that he drew that was significant. And you would think in either one of those, the foul could have been even more. It was not. This is a guy that just wanted an opportunity to play. He was there in Boston. He was there, on that team that went to the NBA Finals, but didn't have a role. Too many wings in front of him. So he comes to Indianapolis, James, and finally gets that opportunity. And you're seeing a guy just take complete advantage of it. He's not one that wants to talk a ton. He's not one that's flashy by any means. But to your point, give him the hard hat because that's exactly what he does every single night when he comes to work.
It's the voice of Scott Agnes here on the field from Fieldhouse Files. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Scott, do you think the winner of Game 3 wins the series?
Not necessarily. I could see Cleveland come in and get. I still think they'll get one. And so if they come in and get one, I would not be alerted whatsoever.
You had this yesterday. We will indeed, I believe, for the third time in the last 20 years, if the Pacers do advance, we will get Pacers and Racers in Indianapolis. 2013, I think 2004, if I'm not mistaken. Tony Kanaan, Buddy Rice. Buddy Rice, that was horrific weather that contributed to that. Those were the other two races. What do you think, 8 o'clock maybe, something like that, tip time? I think green flag's like 12:45, so I'm trying to think back to like what they usually do for tip times. I know we're a lot of 7 o'clocks in this series. I feel like once we get to the conference finals, don't those usually fall kind of in the 8 o'clock hour?
Yeah, that's one of the big troubles as this playoffs progress. A lot of the games are played super late, especially like a Sunday night, right? It feels like it should be a 6, but I would expect more like 7 or 8. So that should give fans enough time to hopefully get out of whatever parking mess you're involved in, get home, maybe stay downtown. I know that's some of the logistics people are wondering is, can I get out in time to then go over downtown, get parked, get set up, and get ready to go? But that's a good problem to have.
Great problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Pacers and Racers, right? I do want to pivot, back to, I guess, this series right now because, as you know, Scott, Rick Carlisle would probably try to, burn us at the stake if we said the series was over already. But when you look at the rest of this team, does anything sort of surprise you about how much more poised they are at the end of these games versus last year in the playoffs? Because to me, that has been one of the biggest differences. Obviously, health helps as well. But, man, like these close games last year, they were on the other end of it, kind of feeling how Cleveland feels right now.
Yeah, for sure. And it all starts with health, obviously. But I think this is very much representative just kind of the growth and time together. The underrated factor in all this is the continuity. And they know exactly what each other wants to do, where they want it, how they're going to handle this situation. You got to imagine until you get to it, you don't have those questions. You don't have all those different what if possibilities. Now you've been through the ringer. You've been through this probably 30 plus times over the last several years. And so between the continuity and then that having the trust and the coaching staff as well of what they expect to then get done has just been magnificent.
Scott Agnes with us here from Fieldhouse Files. Of course, he is your go-to coverage when it comes to Indiana Fever. He was in Iowa City over the weekend. Fever final preseason game coming up Saturday. I think, is that in Atlanta? Is that right, Scott?
That's right.
What was the scene in Iowa City? I mean, it certainly caught it on television. It looked like quite the atmosphere for the Caitlin Clark homecoming.
Yeah, it truly felt like a homecoming. I was just looking around for the parade, right? Like it was unreal, just downtown. The number of Fever and Iowa gear that was throughout. My hotel was packed as I was making my way in and out of it on game day there. My first biggest surprise, I don't know if you went over to Iowa City during your IDS days. It's very much like Michigan Stadium where you walk in and then down.
Yep.
Rather than Assembly Hall being built up.
Kind of reminds me of Newcastle, Scott.
Yeah. I guess I'd never realized that all these years. So that was the number one thing that stood out. Secondly was how much it was very much a Midwest type city. Like everywhere you went, everybody was super nice, super excited. And then just in terms of the atmosphere, it felt like, oh man, this was the game of the year for Iowa, right? All the kids and everyone with signs and jerseys and autographs, and you did not recognize that this wasn't a meaningful game, that this was just a preseason game, and that this team has never played there before, because they were sure treated like the true home team in all ways possible.
I do want to throw this one at you because you were there in person to witness this. The shot from beyond the logo of when she broke the NCAA scoring record. Can you just take us through your vantage point on that and the atmosphere that obviously erupted around you?
Yeah, you kind of figured Caitlin's, as much as she's a basketball player, like Tyrese, by the way, she's also a good entertainer. She knows how to put on a show. She knows how to entertain the crowd. She knows what they want to see from her. And, of course, not only do they want to see her knock down some three-pointers, but you got to throw up one from her spot, right? So what was interesting about it was our angle of it was behind the Fever bench, which was diagonal. So we kind of could see it develop there. And you were just wondering, in the moment before this is what stood out to me too, is you could see her and Steph kind of having a back and forth, like, is it now? Am I coming out later? Is it one more? Let me get one more type thing. And so there was 30 seconds on the clock, and she was like, she described it as, let's see if we can get a 2-for-1. But I think we all knew exactly what she wanted to do. It was CC putting on a show. And I thought it was impressive for her to be able to knock down her first three and then this long ball in this appearance. Because the last thing you want to do is go over there, be 1 for 6 from 3, James, and 8 points, which still would have been understandable given how she's been limited over the last week and this whole new roster that they're all working through in the early portion of the season.
I think she's just wired different, man, when it comes to moments.
For sure.
She meets them pretty much every single time. It's honestly eerie because I'm like, at some point you have to have a dud, right, to remind us that you're human. But it seems like she doesn't have many of those. But I do want to kind of home in on the leg. I don't know if it's a calf thing or whatever's going on. But what's the latest regarding Caitlin Clark's leg? As you said, she's been limited throughout practice, and they're monitoring this thing, I would imagine, around the clock.
Yeah, and by the way, one other description I should say is they had to move the media room to like a booster room because there were so many media. I counted, I think, 18 cameras. There had to be almost 100 people squeezing into this room. You would have thought it was an NBA Finals level game with the number of media. And James, to your point, rising to the moment, I think of her off the court in those moments as much as I do on the court as well. A 23-year-old answering to all these people for 12 minutes before the game and after as well. Now, in terms of the injury, they haven't completely described it, what it exactly is. They said left leg as if it was hockey, but it's clearly an upper left leg. It looks more like the thigh area, whether it's a deep bruise or something stiff up there, but she was riding a stationary bike during the game, has participated in all the shooting and drills when it's been open to the media at the end of the practice. But asking Stephanie White about it yesterday, she said she is a limited participant, which I think, and as I wrote last night, I think that they're just taking a very much a cautious approach, knowing they got 44 games ahead of them, knowing all those different things. They want to make sure this does not linger and become something they're still talking about, say, come July. no one seems concerned, but it's definitely something that's atop all their minds at each practice day.
Again, final preseason game coming up on Saturday in 1 week from Saturday. That is May 17th, 3 o'clock ABC. And, of course, these airwaves as well. Fever and the Chicago Sky will open up the 2025 WNBA season. That is inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Fieldhouse Files, where your coverage is for Scott Agnes, Fever, and Pacers. Scott, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. By the way, Saturday's on League Pass, and I heard you talking about it. Come to the Fieldhouse Files live post-game show on YouTube after the games. I've been doing it every single game.
It's a good time.
Scott Agnes.
There you go,
right
KB.
here.
Thanks, guys.
On the Payless Liquors hotline. I've caught Scott on the post-game show. Does an outstanding job with that. Again, reminder, 7:30 tomorrow night for the Pacers, 8 o'clock Sunday night for the Pacers. And I think Jeff said before he scooted out here, I believe 7 o'clock, right, for Game 5, if there was a Game 5?
I'd have to double-check, but, as the Pacers are doing, I'm going one game at a time.
I'm planning that there isn't going to be a Game 5. Let's live in that.
Do you think broom it up? Are you allowed to bring a broom inside of an NBA arena?
I don't think so. There's certain sizes of items you can bring in, and I don't know if brooms really count.
I have made I've made one request so far of the Pacers Sports and Entertainment. I'll make a second request. My first request for those that missed in the 8 o'clock hour, I need John Halliburton rappelling on Boomer's back tomorrow pregame as the Pyros are going. Hell, he could appear out of a Freddie Fever Bowser costume for all I care. But I need him in the towel. I need him rappelling down when Boomer is coming down pregame. You can still get him out of the arena before the game's tipped. That's my first request. My second request is this. If they win on Friday, and then they win on Sunday, and that is a sweep, I need every Gainbridge Fieldhouse maintenance worker stationed around the concourse with those big brooms. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know.
We're talking like Big Spill, drunk dude
like
in section
the
113.
Push broom or?
Yeah, push broom. Like
Okay.
that can, it encompasses 20 feet of concrete. Drunk dude spills 2 beers on the concourse of section 113 because he's buying beers at the end of the third quarter and thinks he needs to, it's the last chance he's ever going to have to drink in his life. We need those brooms around the concourse, and then fans can sweep their way to the exits on Sunday night if the Pacers have swept.
That would be hilarious.
Are you good with that?
I'm good with that. You know me, got to lean into the pettiness. And
that
honestly,
one seems a little bit more realistic than the other idea that I have.
Yes, I don't know if John Halliburton's going to be on location come Game 3 tomorrow night. I don't know about that.
I know nothing about John Halliburton. I've spoken with him once. I actually ran into him downtown Indianapolis. Seemed like a lovely guy. I thanked him for how much I feel like he has embraced the city as much as his son has embraced the city as well. But he strikes me as a dude that could go a little incognito. Have we checked everybody in Section 213 tomorrow night? Does he not?
I mean,
doesn't he kind of strike me as a guy that all of a sudden?
If we are asking Tyrese Halliburton, hey, you guys are up 3-0, but your dad snuck in here today, that would not be a good moment for them. But I will say, as a proud father, I would imagine that has crossed his mind. Like, man, do they really want me to stay away? Has it been long enough to kind of forget what happened the last time? But again, I would imagine he seriously is just super proud of his son because of what has happened the last 2 games in this series and really just the last 2 playoff runs in general. Again, as I said on yesterday's show, Tyrese hasn't had a ton of playoff experience. This is his second playoff run, and he's 2 wins away from going back to the conference finals. So respect to him and the Pacers for getting it done. One real quick thing I wanted to throw out there. We're talking to Scott Agnes about Caitlin Clark and the fame around her. She was signing the jerseys of the other players and things like that. I feel comfortable saying, like, she's Tiger Woods. She's Michael Jordan to that sport, to that world. Seriously, like, she is that big. I mean, it's LeBron-esque as well. I guess you could throw him in there, but
yeah, I've said Taylor Swift mania before.
It's Taylor Swift. It's that level of fandom, and I mean,
Tiger is like, when I've heard that comp before. I know you don't necessarily have maybe like the racial element of what the game of golf was pre-Tiger, but I do think the Tiger comp makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the crazy part is she plays a team sport. Like, and she's the draw. And again, I've been at these games. I've seen her sign autographs. And to see it in person is incredible. I mean, you can see the videos, but I've seen grown men and women, like, cry, Kevin, after getting, like, literally getting her autograph. That's how big she is.
All right, coming up in a few, Spencer Davies covers the Cavs. Where are they at from a health standpoint heading into Game 3? We'll get the latest on that. Mark Dykton, let's go ahead and check it out.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
We are just 2 games in, but we could be getting the matchup that would make my childhood absolutely ignite. It is the New York Knicks erasing another 20-point deficit last night. They are now up 2-0 over the defending champs. At one point, Boston had missed 14 straight shots last night. I think the run was like 21-2. The final possession for you, James Boyd, just Jason Tatum dribbling too much there?
Yeah, dribbling too much there. You probably want to call a timeout because they still had one left. But just a horrible possession. That kind of sums up how they played. Just bad basketball all around.
Boy, Mitchell Robinson's been great for them, but great for the Knicks, I should say.
Yes, except for that free throw. Did you see that?
Well, the free throws.
That was the worst air ball I've ever seen in my life.
But, like, he comes on the floor, and they immediately flip a switch there. So the Knicks do it again. Miles Bridges and I keep on saying Miles Bridges. Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, a big defensive play there late, and Jalen Brunson hit the 2 free throws. So 2-0, the Knicks 5-0 on the road in the playoffs. Them and the Pacers 8-1 on the road here in the postseason. Thunder all over the Nuggets last night, 149-106. They scored 87 in the first half, looking very much like the regular season team that we saw. Who do you like tonight? Do you think the T-Wolves even it up without Steph?
Yeah, I mean, yes. If you can't even it up without Steph Curry, you don't deserve to be advancing in the playoffs, quite frankly.
What is that, 8:39? What do we got for tonight on that one?
I believe it's 8:30. Tip.
That is obviously from the Target Center there, so we'll see if the fighting Michael Grady is easy for me to say. Can even it up at 1-1. They are a 10.5-point favorite for Game 2. Major League Baseball yesterday, Reds win. They avoid quite the scare with Hunter Green and the injury, as much as it pains me to say, a groin injury for Hunter Green. Pains me to say, have the Cardinals really won 5 in a row?
Unfortunately.
Gosh.
We need that to stop quickly.
Unbelievable. Just so Cardinals. Cubs lose yesterday. Indianapolis Indians 11:05 first pitch there over at Victory Field. Again, they're at home each of the next 2 weeks. And if you have young kids and they mimic an Australian dog, Bluey, is it just Bluey or Bingo as well?
Last year it was Bingo and Bluey.
Because that's a big deal, Mark. I mean, you know this. This is no Batman Robin situation. I mean, people love Bingo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know Bluey was Australian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a long trip.
You'll get on the Bluey train at some point, James. Not yet, but
yeah, we'll see.
When you settle down, it's going to happen.
Find that girl to dance with at the club like your father did. Next thing you know.
I ain't trying to marry you.
Next thing you know, the Australian dogs will be right around the corner. Again, Fever have got training camp practice, their final preseason game coming up on Saturday. The Grand Prix this weekend. Later start than I feel like normal there. 4:45 for the green flag on Saturday. Weather looks outstanding. Busy day at the track tomorrow. Morning session and afternoon session before quals for IndyCar. I think you've got Indy Lights or whatever it's called, Indy Next, coming up as well tomorrow. And did you guys see where the LA Rams are taking their mandatory minicamp?
I'd like to apply for a Rams internship if possible.
Oh, my gosh.
You want to fill people in?
Maui. That's where this is not their training camp. This is like their 3-day mini camp. They are flying out to the island of Maui.
I want to know if our athletic reporter will be going to that. Jordan Rodriguez.
Sure.
She's awesome.
Now, I am unfamiliar with Hawaii in the summer. Is that going to be like scorching hot?
I don't believe so because, like I said,
like our honeymoon was in February.
My grandfather's lived there for over 30 years, and he said they don't even have like air conditioning on the island because it's pretty much just nice year round.
Yeah, I think that is a good point. I don't think we're talking like, whatever Texas heat in the summer, but LA Rams for their mini camp there. That's a far cry from old West 56th Street in Eagle Creek for the Colts. As they continue to take part in their offseason.
I'll talk to Jim Irsay and get that all figured out very soon.
Slightly different, I think, on the flight schedules for that. All right, on the other side, Spencer Davies covers the Cleveland Cavaliers for SI. He joins us next.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, get a little Cavs perspective here coming up in a few. Spencer Davies, trying to effort him, covers the Cavs for SI. Both Cleveland, Indiana, back to practice. Pacers have practice a little bit later today, and obviously Cleveland's got the injury report. Probably a big health day, I would say. Certainly much more in Cleveland, but James, I am curious about Tyrese and that left wrist.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the biggest concern for the Pacers is that wrist. It was heavily taped after, I believe, like halftime, and he was kind of getting up gingerly. So certainly want an update on that. But to kind of pivot to the other side, we'll go to the Payless Liquors hotline with Spencer Davies, who covers the Cleveland Cavaliers for Sports Illustrated and also RG Media as a writer. So, Spencer, how you doing, my man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean, we were supposed to have you on the other day, but then the Pacers came back and went nuts, and I was like, you know what? We probably don't want to have the Cleveland writer on unless you just want a bunch of Pacers fans calling in saying, get this guy off the air. So we wanted to have your perspective. You know, it's a little more warranted these days, you know, leading up to Game 3. So we'll start there from the health standpoint. I know you'll probably be going to practice later today if you haven't been a shoot-around already or things like that. What's the latest on just the state of not only the physical health of the Cavs, but the mental health after that Game 2 collapse?
So I think that the first place you start with is the mental health. The thing that has carried this Cavs team through the entire season has been their mental fortitude. And that's why I think that they're still not technically out of this. They obviously had that game in the bag until that amazing comeback that obviously Tyrese Halliburton's going to get all the love, but Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard are really like huge pieces of that. Just denying ball on the inbounds and being able to make the hustle plays down the stretch really is what separated them. And I think that was because of the fatigue that the Cavs had and guys who usually would be in their place. And that gets us to the injuries, right? We'll start with Evan Mobley. I think he's the most important part of this. The sprained ankle is not great. He was moving a little bit better after Game 2, but he was not able to put pressure on that ankle. So that's probably something we're going to hear an update on. I'm assuming today. Kenny Atkinson did sound a little bit more optimistic post-game on Monday night, on Tuesday night. So I'm sure we'll get updates on that. Darius Garland, it's really tricky with him because he's a planter. He's someone that moves very stop-go, change of pace type of guy. I describe it kind of like a football injury with turf toe. You know how guys run routes, curl routes, and have to stop and then, start their momentum again. So that's why the toe has been such an injury that's been frustrating for not only him, but obviously, the team that they both want him out there. It's just something that's just tough to deal with. And with DeAndre Hunter, you can probably suit him up, but the thing is, like, how effective is someone going to be if a thumb is on your shooting hand and you're not able to get the grip on the ball, you're not able to, do what you usually do with the ball in your hands with your dominant hand. So that's, I think, the things that are really the most difficult to diagnose. But like you said, we'll be at practice this afternoon. We'll get some updates from Kenny Atkinson, and hopefully it's better news because I know that the Pacers want to face the Cavs at their best, or at least as close to their best.
Spencer Davies covers the Cavs. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Spencer, thank you for the time on this Thursday morning. Might be a dumb question, so feel free to answer it if you feel like it is, but who means more to the rest of the series, you think, Garland or Mobley?
I think because the Cavs found a formula that worked in Game 2 with one big and four shooters, I feel like Darius Garland might be more important. I thought initially it would be Evan Mobley because of his defensive prowess, his defensive player of the year, and the ability for them to be 5 out and match up with the Pacers getting up and down the floor. But for me, Darius Garland being an extra bar handler, getting guys open a little bit more, especially in that fourth quarter, I think really showed when, Ty Jerome had his worst game as a Cav, I think, on Tuesday night. And that is tough to really put in perspective because Ty's been so good all year. But I think it really showed somebody that needed to be able to ball handle a little better, make sure to make a little bit better decisions in that moment. And also someone who's quick enough to beat Andrew Nemhard and Aaron Neesmith off the dribble. Because I feel like that's where Ty Jerome really struggled, was those guys could stay in front of him. And he's not used to that because Ty's been playing his own unorthodox pace all year long, and it's worked, and he's doing a really good job. But even when he got his open looks, his usual, like, automatic floater was, like, off. And that led to his jump shot being off, and then obviously defensively he was giving it his all, but he's just not as quick as those guys are. Darius can say at least he is a little bit quicker. So I feel like that is the difference in the dynamic between those two in this particular series.
Yeah, I'm on record saying that Ty Jerome was actively the Pacers' best player for 3/4 of game 2. Like, he was pretty rough. It was rough, tough sledding for him. We'll see if he bounces back. I do want to pivot here, though. You know, as leader of that team, Donovan Mitchell, you were brought there for moments like this. Obviously not moments where you're down 0-2, but moments where you have to respond. He responded in game 2 for sure. But where is his head at, and how is he sort of trying to rally the troops for what I believe will be their season on the line in game 3?
I agree with you on that one, too. And I feel like Donovan, he's somebody that is really even-keeled. And that attitude has trickled throughout the locker room. I think that it's a really positive characteristic to have, especially in a situation like this. You're the top seed in the Eastern Conference. You're down 0-2. You just lost a game that should have been yours. He's not as positive as he was after game 1, but he's also understanding that they have to move past this mentally. They have to come into Indiana like it's a clean slate and take it one game at a time. And I think that his leadership in that aspect is really going to help this team overcome what is really difficult for people to overcome in this city, because the Cavs fans were just shell-shocked. Us as media members were shell-shocked. Because, you know, being around the team, feel like you're part of the team, and you know what these guys put in. So when something like that happens, you just don't know how to react. Like, you can feel every emotion in the book, and you're just like, I don't know how they bounce back from that. But Donovan is somebody who just puts his head down to the ground and just keeps going. And there was something so impressive about that game. That was one of the most old-school near 50 balls I've ever seen. The fact that he was just going to the rack every single possession, his usage rate was above 50%. He was cramping at the end of the game. He gave it everything he had in the tank. And I feel like that type of leadership is going to try and uplift everybody around him to say, you know what, I'm going to try harder. And that's what Jared Allen said in the press conference after the game. And Jared had a great game. But he's like, when they see someone do that, that makes you want to put that same level of effort into it, no matter who's on the court.
Well, Spencer, man, thanks for the time. I will leave you with one pro tip if you want to throw it on to the Cavs. You have to lane violate a lot better in game 3 than in game 2. Because they all do it. You just got to do it a little bit quicker. You know, can't wait for the refs to call it. But in all seriousness, man, thanks for the time. And I'll actually see you tomorrow night. Safe travels.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
That's Spencer Davies right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Sounds like certainly a big day from an injury side of it. I don't know if those sounded like the most optimistic updates whatsoever. I did think the Garland-Mobley answer was interesting. Yeah. I think it's kind of an indirect – I know he wasn't going for this, but I think it was a little bit of an indirect shot at Pascal Siakam of like, hey, when we play the one big, it's okay because we don't, you know, Turner stretches the floor, doesn't really do anything in the paint, and Siakam wasn't very effective. So that answer, I feel like if Siakam could get back to his normal self, I think could change a little bit. So certainly something to keep an eye on. We will do it one final time right here on the Fan Morning Show on this Thursday morning. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, coming up tomorrow, we'll have Mark Janes, the voice, certainly of the 500. And IndyCar, he's going to join us, as always, a little early in the show, 7:40, for the great Mark Janes, as we get you set for what will be the first of 3 jam-packed weekends over at IMS. Reminder, the Grand Prix coming up Saturday afternoon, 4:45, the green flag. I don't know if you guys saw this. Purdue announced their non-conference schedule for basketball here for this coming season. I love how Matt Painter just embraces the battle-tested nature of the non-conference. They are going, they're going to do the return with Alabama. Remember, they played Alabama and Mackey last year. They'll go to Alabama, so that'll be a true road game, of course. They get Iowa State and Marquette in Mackey in December, back-to-back weekends. I mean, that's just great for your home fans. You get it. Iowa State's been a very good program here recently. And then, of course, I have a feeling if Tyrese Halliburton can make that work, he's going to be in Mackey.
I was just going to say, that'd be
for that one, right?
Certainly.
Quite the guest spot.
And then again, Marquette, that seems to be almost an annual thing with them. They're going to play Bruce Pearl and Auburn in Indy. So that'll be the new Indy Classic. Again, they played Arizona in it, Texas A&M last year. And they go to the Bahamas, where I think that field's still to be settled, but Memphis and Wake Forest supposed to be in that field as well. Like, James, I feel like when they played Houston last year, and you saw how competitive they were with Houston.
Yep.
I think a huge they played Auburn last year. They played Bama. They played A&M. And those are mixed results. I mean, Auburn largely dusted them. A&M certainly outplayed them inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. They did beat Alabama and Mackey. But I think having those moments in a year of the Big Ten, which turned out to be kind of typical Big Ten, Purdue was still able to give Houston certainly one of their best games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, they were one play away from going to overtime, I believe, and possibly winning to advance in the NCAA tournament. So I'm excited about it. If 107.5 The Fan needs somebody to go to the Bahamas to cover the Purdue Boilermakers, I want to throw my name in the hat first. Don't you come around, go behind my back and tell them seniority. None of that.
Someone's going to have to show me the budget before
no seniority points, Mark or Kevin. I asked first, okay? I'm giving you the little brother treatment. I want the front seat. I want shotgun.
Well, Baha Mar, I believe the location for that.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah, I honestly
have no idea where it is on the map, but it sounds amazing.
Say the Bahamas, and I live in their version of the varsity villas I lived in Bloomington my sophomore year.
Covering those games from the swim-up bar, probably.
Right, of college. Joe Lenardi's got Purdue as his #1 overall seed, as if we needed to talk bracketology here in early May.
I mean, the expectations are high, though, and rightfully so. Because of, the #1 piece coming back and putting those transfer rumors to bed. All you Illinois fans who were saying, he's going to come to Illinois. I don't know what you were smoking or drinking, but don't do that ever again. Braden Smith back for another year with Purdue to kind of finish what he started there and what has become not only one of the best careers we've seen at Purdue, but one of the best careers you're going to see from a college basketball player, especially at the point guard position.
Yeah, at the very least, he'll go down as an all-time great in the Big Ten. If you want to expand it a little bit above the Purdue level to it. So that is a pathway of St. Louis, Chicago, and Lucas Oil for the Final Four if they were able to do that. And never too early to talk about the bubble in Bloomington, right? Joe Lenardi's got Darren DeVries' first team as his first 4 out here coming up this fall. Mark Dykton, it's been a hell of a night, I should say, 2-3 weeks in the NBA. Let's go ahead and hit a little Jiffy Lube stat of the day. That is your Indiana oil change since 1985. How about this one from Scotty? We've already had 5 20-point comebacks this postseason. Those are 20-point comeback wins.
That's crazy.
That is the most in a single postseason since 1998. Over the previous 4 postseasons combined, there were a total of 5 20-point comebacks.
Wow.
There had never been more than 3 20-point comebacks in a single postseason dating back to 1998. And guys, we aren't even I guess if you think about it from games played, maybe we are at the halfway point, but we still got a lot of basketball left to be played.
Yeah.
We aren't even halfway through the semifinals. Of course, we've got Eastern and Western Conference Finals and NBA Finals. You make anything of that, why now? Why in this playoff year have we had it? Because it's not like we've had it with just 4 or 5 seeds.
Yeah.
The 1 seeds have lost multiple 20-point leads.
I want to throw out there 3-point shooting. maybe, and it goes both ways, like knocking down threes to get back into games, or like Boston, just having some really
just clanking it nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, this is not typical
I think it's a good point. Yeah.
This is not typical for them. And I get it. People are like, stop shooting threes. You can't change your identity this late in the season. And they've missed. I mean, I watched the game last night. They missed a ton of open ones.
Yeah.
And they're not taking horrible shots. I thought game one, they really took some poor threes. I mean, I watched some of these shots last night, Jason Tatum in particular. Like, dude, you got to make these shots. If you don't make these shots, you can't have a chance of winning at all. But it has been crazy. And also, I think when you get in that rhythm of you've missed a couple, it snowballs for a lot of these guys and a lot of these teams. So we'll see if it changes. Like I said, my hot take yesterday was that one of these teams, the Cavaliers, who Pacers fans are booing me right now, Cavaliers or the Celtics will come back and win in this 7-game series. I believe that one of them will get out of this round.
I saw that the Celtics-Knicks updated odds. It's now about a coin flip to win that series, which is, I mean, it's kind of wild. Knicks up 2-0 going home, and they're only a coin flip.
Yeah, I think
Pacers are a little bit more above 60%
I think
on
the
that.
Celtics are still like the second best odds to win the NBA championship. So they're not ruling them out just yet. The Pacers do have some value, though. If you're looking to spread some money on the Pacers potentially winning a championship, they're at like plus 1,300 right now.
Gosh, say that phrase again.
The Pacers to win the NBA championship is plus 1,300.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's outlandish.
I know.
As
like
it
Mark
was
said, the
2
Pacers
months
potentially
ago.
to win a championship. I think it was the phrase, and I'm just like, damn. When you say it out loud, I'm kind of like, I need to push the vacation to make sure the NBA Finals are going to be done here before all of that happens. It'll be us three again tomorrow. Jeff up at a conference in Chicago. He'll be back on Monday. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton. We'll get you set for Game 3. Reminder, just one game tonight in the association. That'll be the T-Wolves and the Warriors. Everybody enjoy the nice day. Thank you for tuning in. This is The Fan right here on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.